I push open the door to my apartment, and the first thing I see is my corporate director, Vance, sitting on my bed. My girlfriend, Sarah, is right next to him, hastily pulling a silk sheet up to her collarbone. Neither of them even looks surprised. In fact, Vance just smirks, leaning back against the headboard like he owns the place. Which technically he does. This apartment is company housing, a perk I earned by working 90-hour weeks for the last 3 years to build his tech department from the ground up. "Arthur, you're home early," Vance says, not a shred of panic in his voice. "I guess this saves me the trouble of calling you into the office tomorrow. You're fired." Just like that. 3 years of grinding, 3 years of putting my life on hold for his company, and he drops it like a casual observation. I look at Sarah. She doesn't even have the decency to look ashamed. She just rolls her eyes and lets out a heavy sigh. "Don't look at me like that, Arthur," she says, crossing her arms over the sheet. "You really thought I was going to stick around while you kill yourself for a middle management salary?" Vance is a director. He actually has a future. You're just a disposable code monkey. I stare at her, the woman I was planning to propose to next month. My chest tightens, but I don't yell. I don't scream. I just look at the two of them with utter disgust. Vance stands up, casually reaching for his expensive tailored shirt. Oh, and by the way, he adds, buttoning it up, "I'm blacklisting you across the entire tech industry. My network is deep, Arthur. You won't find a job doing it support for a middle school after I make a few calls. And since this apartment is company property, you have exactly 10 minutes to pack whatever fits in a garbage bag and get out. You're completely out of your mind if you think you can do this," I say, my voice steady despite the absolute rage boiling in my gut. Vance laughs. A cold, arrogant sound. "I can do whatever I want, Arthur. I have money. I have power. You have absolutely nothing. Now get out before I call building security and have you thrown out like the trash you are." Sarah sneers, leaning her head on Vance's shoulder. "Just leave, Arthur. You're embarrassing yourself." Half an hour later, I'm standing on the sidewalk in the middle of the financial district holding a single duffel bag. My phone buzzes. I pull it out and check my banking app. Access denied. Account frozen. Vance wasn't bluffing. He completely froze my corporate salary accounts, trapping every single cent I saved over the last 3 years. I'm completely broke, unemployed, homeless. I dig into my coat pocket and pull out a crumpled physical $1 bill. It's literally the last piece of currency I have to my name. I walk up to a dingy street cart on the corner and slap the dollar on the metal counter. "1 black coffee," I tell the vendor. He hands me a styrofoam cup. I take a sip of the bitter, lukewarm liquid, and that's exactly when everything changes. Ding. A mechanical chime rings directly inside my head. A translucent blue interface suddenly projects itself directly into my field of vision. System bound. "Welcome to the infinite cashback system." I freeze. The coffee cup stops halfway to my mouth. I blink, but the interface doesn't disappear. It hovers right in front of my eyes, displaying a stream of text. Transaction registered. $1 spent, triggering rarity multiplier for first-time physical currency use. Standard monetary return bypassed, generating physical asset reward. I stare at the floating text. A system? Like the ones in the web novels I used to read on my lunch breaks? Before I can even process the thought, a heavy weight suddenly drops into the right pocket of my coat. I reach inside and my fingers brush against cold, hard metal. I pull it out. It's a sleek, matte black smart key with a raging bull emblem stamped right in the center. Along with it is a digital title document that instantly downloads directly to my phone. I open the file. It's a fully registered, legally binding vehicle title in my name for a custom Lamborghini Aventador. This has to be a joke. There is no way a $1 street coffee just bought me a hypercar. I check the GPS coordinates attached to the digital title. It points to a high-end private parking lot just 3 blocks away. I walk fast, my heart hammering against my ribs. I turn the corner and walk into the lot, and there it is. Parked in the very back, completely isolated from the ordinary cars, is a matte black Lamborghini Aventador. It looks like a stealth bomber sitting on the concrete. I walk up to it, my breath catching in my throat. I press the unlock button on the smart key. The car chirps, the headlights flash, and the butterfly doors slowly rise open. It's real. I slide into the driver's seat. The leather is pristine. The dashboard lights up the second I press the ignition button, and the V12 engine roars to life with a sound that physically shakes my chest. I grip the steering wheel. The system is completely real. I spent $1 and got a multi-million-dollar asset in return. The infinite cashback system. If it triggers on every purchase, I'm sitting on an endless gold mine. I pull the Aventador out of the lot, the engine growling as I merge onto the main street. I need to test exactly how far the system goes. I need to know my limits. And I know exactly where to go. I drive straight to the Sapphire Lounge, the most exclusive club in the financial district. The kind of place Vance practically lives at to show off his status. I pull up right to the VIP valet zone, the engine roar, turning the heads of everyone on the sidewalk. The crowd waiting outside immediately starts whispering. Who is that? Someone points. That's a custom Aventador. You can't even get on the wait list for one of those without 8 figures in the bank. The valet rushes forward, completely ignoring the line of luxury sedans behind me, and opens my door with a deep bow. "Good evening, sir," he says, his voice dripping with respect. I step out of the car, handing him the smart key. "Keep it up front," I tell him. Right as I say that, the glass doors of the lounge push open. Vance and Sarah walk out. Vance has his arm wrapped around her waist, wearing a smug grin. But the second they step onto the curb, Sarah's eyes lock onto the matte black Aventador. Her eyes widen. Then she looks at the driver who just stepped out. Her face completely drains of all color. "Arthur," she gasps out. Vance stops dead in his tracks. He stares at me, then at the car, his jaw practically hitting the floor. Sarah immediately shakes off Vance's arm. She practically sprints over to me, a desperate, greedy smile spreading across her face. "Arthur. Oh my God, Arthur," she says, her voice suddenly sweet and high-pitched. She reaches out and violently grabs my arm, pressing herself against me. "I didn't know you had this kind of money. Were you hiding family wealth from me this whole time? You were just testing me, right? To see if I loved you for you?" I look down at her hands gripping my jacket. Her opportunistic greed is absolutely sickening. She really thinks I'm some secret billionaire heir who is playing a game, and she wants back in immediately. I physically peel her fingers off my arm and push her back. "Don't touch me," I say, my voice completely flat. "You have zero value to me." Fake smile freezes on her face. Her eyes dart around as the crowd on the sidewalk watches her get rejected. "Arthur, wait, you don't understand," she stammers, trying to step closer again. I don't even look at her. I turn to the valet holding my key. "If these two try to get anywhere near my car," I say, pointing at Vance and Sarah, "have your security remove them permanently." The valet nods sharply. "Understood, sir." Vance finally snaps out of his shock. His face turns bright red with absolute fury. He stomps forward, pointing a finger right at my chest. "You arrogant little punk," he spits. "I know exactly what your salary is. There is no way you can afford this. You stole this car. I'm calling the police right now for grand theft, and you're going straight to prison." The crowd gasps. People start pulling out their phones to record. Vance pulls out his phone, a vicious smirk on his face, thinking he caught me. But the valet steps directly in front of him, holding up a small digital scanner. "Sir, lower your voice," the valet says coldly. "I've already scanned the vehicle's registration chip. Mr. Arthur is the sole legal owner of this vehicle. If you continue to harass our VIP guests, I'll be the one calling the authorities." Vance chokes on his own words. Phone slips in his hand. He stares at the valet, then at me, completely humiliated. The crowd starts laughing at him. "Look at that guy in the suit," someone whispers. Trying to frame a billionaire for theft just because his girl got rejected. Pathetic. Vance's face turns a nasty shade of purple, but he doesn't dare say another word. He just stands there, completely silenced. I don't even give them a second glance. I turn my back on them and walk right past the lounge entrance, stepping directly into the ultra-luxury watch boutique right next door. I need to test the system's absolute monetary limit. The boutique is completely empty except for the manager, who looks up in surprise as I walk in wearing a standard jacket and jeans. But he must have seen me pull up in the Aventador through the window because he immediately rushes over with a flawless customer service smile. "How can I assist you today, sir?" he asks. I walk straight up to the center display case. I point at the most expensive piece in the room, a diamond-encrusted tourbillon piece sitting on a velvet cushion. "I'll take that one," I say. The manager's eyes widen slightly. "Sir, that piece is $500,000. Are you certain?" "Ring it up," I tell him. I open my system interface. A virtual, limitless credit card materializes in my digital wallet. I tap my phone against the boutique's payment terminal. A second later, the machine beeps. Payment approved. The manager practically stops breathing. He quickly and carefully packages the watch in a heavy mahogany box. But I'm not paying attention to him. I'm staring at the blue system interface flashing violently in my vision. Ding. Transaction registered. $500,000 spent. Triggering tenfold cash return multiplier. Depositing $5 million into primary account. My phone buzzes violently in my pocket. I pull it out and open my banking app. The frozen corporate account is completely gone. In its place is a brand new, untraceable offshore routing number. And the balance staring back at me is a clean, undeniable $5 million. I just made $4.5 million of pure profit by buying a watch. The system has no limit. I'm practically invincible. The manager escorts me out of the boutique personally, bowing respectfully as he hands me the mahogany bag. "Thank you for your patronage, sir. Please return anytime." I step back out onto the sidewalk. Sarah is still standing there, watching the boutique manager practically kiss the ground I walk on. She sees the massive shopping bag in my hand. The absolute realization of what she threw away hits her like a freight train. Extreme desperation washes over her face. "Arthur, please." She screams, trying to run toward me. "I was wrong. Vance forced me to do it. I love you." But the boutique's private security guards immediately step in front of her, shoving her back forcefully to keep her away from me. I don't even acknowledge her existence. My phone starts ringing wildly with calls from her number. I hit block without a second thought. I slide back into the driver's seat of the Aventador and close the door, shutting out her pathetic screaming completely. I drop the $500,000 watch onto the passenger seat like it's a piece of junk mail. The system is real. The money is real. And now it's time to settle the score properly. I pull out my phone and open the corporate stock profile application. I type in the ticker symbol for Vance's technology firm. I stare at their market cap and their outstanding shares. I tap the screen, bringing up the buy order menu, preparing to initiate a completely hostile takeover. I stare at the screen of my trading app, my thumb hovering over the bright green confirm button, the ticker symbol for Vance's technology firm burning into my retinas. $5 million. Everything I just made from buying that watch. I tap the screen without a single ounce of hesitation. The transaction processes instantly, wiping my newly acquired offshore account back down to zero. For a split second, I wonder if I just threw everything away, but then the mechanical chime rings directly inside my head again. Ding, transaction registered. $5 million spent in corporate equity acquisition, triggering tenfold cash return multiplier, depositing $50 million into primary account. Bonus physical asset generated, corporate override black card, granting 51% controlling stake in Horizon Tech. My phone practically vibrates out of my hand as the banking app refreshes, displaying a staggering balance of $50 million. But that isn't even the best part. A heavy, solid weight suddenly drops into the left pocket of my jacket. I reach in and pull out a thick matte black metal card. It's cold to the touch, entirely blank except for a gold inlaid microchip and the Horizon Tech corporate logo stamped right in the center. I run my thumb over the cold metal, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. Vance really thought he had power over me because he was a director. He thought he could just throw me out on the street, blacklist me from the industry, and steal my fiancée without any consequences. He has absolutely no idea what real power is. For 3 years, I worked 90-hour weeks, sleeping under my desk, building his entire tech infrastructure from scratch, while he took all the credit and all the bonuses. He treated me like a disposable battery. Now, I literally own the building he's standing in. I slide the black card into my pocket and put the Aventador into drive. The V12 engine roars as I pull out of the VIP parking zone and merge into the busy financial district traffic. The drive to the Horizon Tech headquarters takes less than 10 minutes. I pull straight up to the private executive parking structure. The security guard at the booth steps out, holding up a hand to stop me, but the second he sees the matte black Aventador, his eyes go wide and he immediately hits the button to raise the gate, assuming I'm some billionaire investor. I park directly in the spot marked for the CEO, turn off the engine, and walk straight toward the main atrium of the headquarters. The heavy glass doors slide open, and I immediately hear Vance's voice echoing through the massive lobby over a PA system. He's standing on a temporary raised platform in the center of the atrium, holding a microphone flanked by 2 large presentation screens. The entire ground floor is packed with hundreds of employees from every department. It's a company-wide town hall rally. We had to make some difficult decisions today regarding strategic cost-cutting, Vance says, projecting his voice to sound authoritative and solemn. We had to let go of some underperforming dead weight. Arthur from the IT department was a massive drain on our resources, and his lack of dedication was pulling this entire company down. The crowd of employees is whispering, shifting uncomfortably, but nobody dares to speak up against a director. I walk straight into the center of the room. The crowd at the back notices me first. The whispering instantly changes tone. "Is that Arthur?" Someone mutters. "What is he wearing? Did he win the lottery?" The sea of employees slowly parts for me as I walk forward. Vance stops talking mid-sentence. He looks down from the stage, his smug expression instantly twisting into a nasty sneer. He points the microphone directly at me. "Look who decided to show up." Vance laughs, his voice booming through the speakers. "What's the matter, Arthur? Couldn't handle getting fired? Did you rent a fancy suit and a sports car just to look cool in front of the people you used to work with? And that watch on your passenger seat? Let me guess, 20 bucks down in the subway station? You're pathetic. Sarah steps out from behind Vance, standing right beside him on the stage. She grabs the second microphone, looking down at me with fake pity. "Arthur, please stop stalking us," she says, making sure her voice echoes loud enough for the whole company to hear. "We know you're mentally unstable because of the breakup, but this is just embarrassing. Following us to work to throw a tantrum? You need psychiatric help, not a rented car." The crowd gasps. The employees start murmuring loudly. "Mentally unstable. Stalking?" Someone whispers loudly. "He's lost his mind. Security is going to beat him down." I don't say a single word to either of them. I don't even look at them. They are nothing but empty air to me. I walk straight past the stage, completely ignoring Vance's arrogant laughter, and walk directly up to Miller, the corporate HR director, who is standing off to the side, holding a master control tablet. Miller frowns at me, stepping back. "Arthur, you need to leave the premises right now before I have you arrested," he snaps. I don't argue. I just reach into my pocket, pull out the solid metal black card, and toss it onto his clipboard. Then I pull out my phone, open the digital transfer documents the system generated, and tap my screen against his tablet. "Scan it," I tell him, my voice completely flat and commanding. Miller rolls his eyes, but he swipes his scanner over the black card and the digital file just to humor me. The tablet beeps loudly. A bright green verified icon flashes across his screen. Miller's face completely drains of all color. He gasps, sucking in a sharp breath of air, his hands shaking so violently he almost drops the tablet on the floor. His eyes dart from the screen to me, then back to the screen, sheer terror washing over his face. "Mr. Miller," I say, keeping my eyes locked on him. "Read the system alert into that microphone right now." Miller stumbles forward, bumping into the side of the stage. He grabs a spare microphone from the podium, his hand trembling uncontrollably. Vance looks down at him, highly annoyed. "What are you doing, Miller?" "Call security and get this trash out of my lobby." Vance barks. Miller completely ignores him. He brings the mic to his lips, his voice cracking loudly. "Attention. Attention all staff. Effective immediately, corporate protocols have been overridden. 51% controlling stake in Horizon Tech has just been acquired by Mr. Arthur. He is the new majority shareholder and acting chairman of the board." The entire atrium goes dead silent. You could hear a pin drop on the marble floor. Then, a second later, the crowd completely explodes. "He bought the company?" Someone screams. "With what money?" "He's the chairman." "Oh my God, Vance is dead meat." Vance drops his microphone. It hits the stage floor with a deafening screech of feedback. He stares at me, his eyes wide with absolute horror, his jaw hanging completely unhinged. "That's impossible." Vance screams, his voice cracking in panic. "You're a broke-it monkey. This is a fraud. You hacked the system." I step up onto the stage, walking right up to him. "Pack your desk, Vance. You're fired." Vance's face turns a nasty shade of purple. He steps back, pointing a trembling finger at my chest, trying desperately to salvage his shattered ego in front of the entire company. "Fine." Vance snarls, spitting as he yells. "You want to play games? Read my contract, you arrogant punk. I'm an executive director. If I'm terminated without cause, my contract guarantees a $2 million severance package paid out immediately. Go ahead and fire me. I'll take your $2 million and start a rival firm tomorrow, and I'll crush you." He crosses his arms, looking incredibly smug, thinking he just outsmarted me and backed me into a corner. I just let out a cold laugh. "Is that so?" I pull out my phone and open the VIP banking application. With my new corporate override access, I instantly pull up Vance's employee financial profile. I see everything. "Let's see here," I say, reading his data out loud. "You have a luxury condo mortgage and 2 high-end vehicle loans financed through the local corporate partner bank. Total outstanding debt, $3 million. I tap the screen, opening the commercial debt acquisition portal. I hit purchase. Ding. Transaction registered. $3 million spent acquiring personal debt titles. Triggering 10-fold cash return multiplier. Depositing $30 million into primary account. Debt titles successfully transferred to host. I look up from my phone, locking eyes with Vance. The smug smile on his face falters. "I just bought your mortgage and your car loans directly from the bank." "Vance," I tell him, my voice echoing clearly through the atrium. "I personally own all $3 million of your debt. And since I am the chairman of this company, I am officially seizing your $2 million severance package to pay down the balance you owe me, which means you still owe me $1 million. You have 0 assets, 0 cash, and 0 job. You are completely bankrupt." Vance gasps for air like a fish thrown onto dry land. He clutches his chest, staggering backward. No, you can't do that. That's my house. You can't take my house." He drops to his knees, completely shattered, his mind unable to process that his entire life was just dismantled in less than 60 seconds. I look over at the two massive building security guards standing near the stage. Throw him out, I order them. If he resists, call the police and have him arrested for trespassing. The guards don't hesitate for a single second. The hierarchy has shifted and they know exactly who pays their checks now. They march up onto the stage, grab Vance by the arms, and violently drag him toward the front doors while he screams and kicks wildly, completely humiliated in front of hundreds of his former subordinates. Sarah is left standing completely alone on the stage, trembling like a leaf. She looks at the front doors where Vance was just dragged out, then she slowly turns to look at me. The malicious, arrogant attitude she had 5 minutes ago completely vanishes. A sickeningly sweet, desperate smile spreads across her face. She takes a step toward me, reaching out to touch my arm. "Arthur," she says, her voice shaking with fake affection. "I knew you'd win." Vance forced me to say those things, I swear. I had no choice. He was my boss. "But I love you. I can be your executive assistant. We can go back to how things were. We can rule this company together." She looks at me with wide, greedy eyes, completely devoid of any shame or dignity. I look at her outstretched hand with utter disgust and step back. "Security," I say, not even raising my voice. "Drag this trash out too. Oh, and Sarah, you're fired from your administrative role. Don't ever show your face near my company again." Sarah's fake smile shatters. "No, Arthur, wait, please. You can't do this to me," she screams. The guards grab her by the shoulders instantly. She thrashes and cries, sobbing loudly as they drag her across the marble floor and throw her out the front doors right behind Vance. The entire atrium is dead silent again. Hundreds of employees are staring at me with pure reverence and fear. I don't give them a speech. I just turn around and walk right back out the front doors. The second I step onto the sidewalk, the system chimes in my head again. Ding, first retaliation milestone achieved. Host has successfully dismantled primary antagonist, generating milestone reward. A heavy, thick envelope instantly materializes in the inside pocket of my jacket. I pull it out and rip it open. Inside is a gold-leafed title deed for the top-floor penthouse at the Zenith Tower. It's the most exclusive, hyper-expensive residential real estate in the entire financial district. I don't waste any time. I get back into the Aventador, the engine roaring to life, and I drive straight toward the Zenith Tower. The massive skyscraper looms over the city like a glass monolith. I pull up to the private, residents-only underground garage. The automated scanners read my vehicle's new tags, and the heavy steel gates open instantly. I drive down the ramp into the Ultra VIP section. I check the deed. Parking space number 1. The absolute best spot in the garage, located right next to the private elevator. I turn the corner, but I'm forced to slam on the brakes. Parked diagonally across the bright yellow lines, completely blocking my deeded space, is a heavily modified cherry red Ferrari. A young guy in a loud, incredibly expensive designer suit steps out of the driver's side. He has bleached blonde hair and a wildly arrogant smirk plastered across his face. He lights a cigarette, takes a deep drag, and carelessly drops it right onto the pristine concrete, crushing it under his designer loafer. He looks at my matte black Aventador, sneers, and points a finger aggressively toward the exit ramp. "This spot belongs to me now," he says, his voice echoing loudly off the concrete walls. "Take your little toy and go park outside on the street with the rest of the garbage." I look down at the pristine concrete near the toe of his expensive designer loafer and spot a crumpled VIP valet ticket he must have dropped. I pick it up and flatten out the thick paper. "Julian Sterling," I read the name printed on the front out loud. Julian scoffs, crossing his arms and leaning back against the hood of his cherry red Ferrari. That's right, the Sterling family, as in the people who practically own the financial district. Now that you know who your betters are, get in your little rental car and back out of my parking spot before I make a phone call and have your life ruined. Do you know how much this paint job costs? More than you'll make in your entire miserable life, so don't even think about scratching it. So I don't say a single word to him. People like Julian are all exactly the same. They rely entirely on the achievements of their parents to act like absolute tyrants, thinking the world owes them something just because of their last name. I'm not going to stand here and argue with a parasite. I just pull out my phone and open the Black Card Concierge application the system gave me. The interface immediately syncs with the Zenith Tower's internal network. I navigate to the Property Management tab and find the commercial listing for the underground parking complex. The property developers still own the title, and it's currently valued at a flat $10 million. I tap the purchase button without a second thought. The transaction goes through instantly, deducting the $10 million from my primary account. Ding. Transaction registered. $10 million spent in commercial real estate acquisition, triggering tenfold cash return multiplier. depositing $100 million into primary account. Master management codes for Zenith Tower Garage successfully transferred to host device, overriding all prior ownership registry. My bank balance shoots up to $140 million. I pull up the garage control terminal on my screen. Julian laughs, completely clueless about what I'm doing. What, are you calling your mommy for help? I told you to move. I hit a button on the screen. Instantly, 4 heavy steel security bollards shoot up from the concrete floor around the Ferrari, locking the vehicle entirely in place. Julian jumps back, his eyes going wide in shock. What the hell did you just do? He screams, grabbing the steel poles and pulling on them uselessly. Just then, the elevator doors slide open and a team of 4 building security guards rushes into the VIP section. Julian instantly points a finger at me, his face red with fury. Arrest this trash right now. He just damaged my car. I want him thrown in jail. The head guard walks over, looking highly annoyed by the screaming. I hold up my phone, displaying the digital deed with the verified green check mark right on the screen. Scan it, I tell the guard, my voice completely flat. He pulls out his device and scans the barcode on my screen. His scanner beeps loudly. The guard's face completely drains of all color. He looks at me, then at Julian, then back at me, instantly standing up straight in a rigid, subordinate posture. Sir, I apologize for the disturbance, the guard says to me, his voice trembling slightly. Julian loses his mind. What are you apologizing to him for? He's blocking my spot. I'm Julian Sterling. My father pays your salary. The guard turns to Julian and glares. Mr. Sterling, you are parked in the private property of the complex owner. This entire underground facility was just purchased by this gentleman. You are trespassing on his land. Julian's jaw drops. He looks at me like I just grew a second head. He owns the garage? That's impossible. He's a nobody. You're lying to me. He steps forward, clenching his fist, and swings a punch right at my face. I don't even flinch. Before his fist can even come close to me, the head guard lunges forward, grabs Julian by the arm, and wrestles him violently to the concrete floor. Julian slams into the ground with a heavy thud, gasping for air as the guard pins his arms tight behind his back. Get off me. My father will have you fired. I'll ruin you. Julian screams, spitting blood onto the floor. I look down at him with a cold smirk. Tow his Ferrari out into the public street. I order the guards. Leave it in a loading zone so the city impounds it. The guards nod immediately. Yes, Mr. Arthur, right away. I leave Julian screaming on the floor, turn my back on him, and walk straight into the private elevator. I swipe my black card and hit the button for the top floor. The doors open to the penthouse and I step inside. It's massive, easily 10,000 square feet of prime real estate with floor-to-ceiling glass windows overlooking the entire city, but it's completely empty, just raw hardwood floors and bare walls. I clearly need furniture, but more importantly, I want to test the absolute limits of my newly expanded capital. $100 million in liquid cash is insane, but I know the system can push me higher. The infinite cashback system isn't just giving me money, it's practically begging me to spend it to grow stronger. My phone vibrates. A notification from the concierge app pops up, alerting me to the Azure Harbor Luxury Auction happening tonight at the city's premier convention center. It's an exclusive event where corporations and billionaires bid on high-end assets. It's the perfect place to spend heavy cash. I leave the empty penthouse, take the elevator back down to my Aventador, and drive straight to the venue. I arrive at Azure Harbor and register at the front desk as a standard bidder. They hand me a numbered paddle, and I walk straight into the massive main hall, taking a seat right in the middle of the general audience section. The room is packed with executives, old money elites, and tech CEOs. I glance up at the VIP balcony boxes circling the room. Sitting in box number 1 is Julian, nursing a heavily bruised face, standing next to an older man in a sharp, tailored suit. Richard Sterling. Julian spots me sitting in the crowd, his eyes widening in pure rage. He whispers something frantically to his father and points right at me. Richard looks down from the balcony, glaring at me with absolute disgust. I just smile back at them and look away. I couldn't care less. The lights dim and the auctioneer walks onto the main stage. Ladies and gentlemen, our premier asset tonight is a fully operational, state-of-the-art AI server farm located in the tech corridor. Opening bid is $15 million. Immediately, Richard Sterling steps up to the edge of the VIP balcony. He doesn't even use a paddle. He just speaks into his microphone, adjusting his silk tie and looking down at the crowd like a king surveying peasants. $20 million, Richard announces, his voice echoing loudly through the hall. He looks around the room with an incredibly smug expression, daring anyone to challenge his authority. The crowd immediately starts whispering. The Sterlings are bidding. Nobody else is going to touch it, a man sitting next to me mutters. Richard wants that server farm to boost his tech portfolio. Bidding against him is just asking for corporate sabotage. Best to just let him take it. The auctioneer smiles, holding his gavel ready. 20 million to Mr. Sterling. Do I hear 25? I don't even hesitate. I raise my paddle high in the air. $50 million, I say, my voice cutting through the silence like a knife. The entire hall erupts into complete chaos. Hundreds of heads snap around to look at me. People are gasping, pointing, and whispering frantically. Did he just say 50 million? Who is that guy? He just doubled the Sterling bid. He's insane. Richard is going to absolutely destroy him. Up in the balcony, Richard's smug smile vanishes instantly. He grips the glass railing, his knuckles turning pure white. Julian looks like he's about to have a heart attack. Richard grabs his microphone, leaning over the edge of the balcony, completely ignoring all auction etiquette. Listen to me very carefully, boy, Richard snarls, his voice shaking with intense anger. I don't know where you got that kind of money, but you are playing a very dangerous game. Withdraw your bid right now, or I will personally leverage every single connection my family has to ruin you. You will never do business in this city again. Drop the paddle. The crowd goes dead silent, waiting to see what I'll do. Being threatened publicly by the head of the Sterling family is a guaranteed death sentence in the financial district. I don't even blink. I keep my expression completely neutral, look right up at Richard, and raise my paddle again. $100 million, I say loudly. Richard staggers back like he just got violently punched in the chest. His face drains of all color, turning a sickly pale white. He stares at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish, but no words come out. He doesn't have it. Billionaires like Richard have their massive net worth tied up entirely in corporate stock, real estate, and fixed assets. Having $100 million in pure, unallocated liquid cash sitting in a checking account is something completely different. He is totally tapped out. The crowd realizes it instantly. The whispers turn into outright mockery. The Sterlings are backing down. He just outbid them. Richard doesn't have the cash. How embarrassing. Getting flexed on in front of the whole city. He just got totally humiliated. Richard throws his microphone onto the ground, utterly defeated, and storms out of the Viep box with Julian trailing behind him like a whipped dog. The auctioneer wipes sweat from his forehead and slams the gavel down hard. Sold. $100 million to the gentleman in the center. The moment the gavel hits the wood, the mechanical chime rings so loudly in my head it almost gives me a headache. Ding. Transaction registered. $100 million spent in technological asset acquisition. Host has triggered a rare 20-fold critical return multiplier, depositing $2 billion into primary offshore account. System core interface upgrading to level 2. My phone vibrates violently in my pocket. I pull it out and look at the screen. A string of zeros so long it barely fits on the digital display. $2 billion. Pure liquid cash. I've officially bypassed the local elite and stepped into an entirely different league of wealth. I stand up from my seat and walk toward the exit of the main hall. The crowd parts for me like I'm a king, staring at me with a mix of terror and absolute awe. I push through the heavy wooden doors into the grand lobby, but my path is immediately blocked. Richard Sterling is standing right in front of the exit doors, flanked by 6 massive corporate bodyguards. Julian is standing behind him, glaring at me with pure venom in his eyes. Richard steps forward, trying to look intimidating, but I can see the sheer desperation in his posture. You think you're clever, don't you? Richard snaps, his voice low and threatening. You bought those servers just to humiliate me. Fine, but you don't have the infrastructure to run them. Transfer the server farm to the Sterling Group right now at a heavy discount. $30 million. Do that and my family will ensure you don't see tomorrow. I let out a cold, mocking laugh. I look at Richard like he's a beggar, asking for spare change on the street. Your family? Richard, you couldn't even scrape together $100 million to win a public auction, and now you're trying to rob me in the lobby because you're entirely broke. Richard's face turns bright purple. I am not broke. I have a net worth of $5 billion, you arrogant little punk. Net worth is just paper, I say bluntly. I pull out my phone, open the primary banking application, and turn the screen brightness all the way up. I hold the phone up so Richard, Julian, the bodyguards, and the massive crowd of executives filing out of the auction hall behind me can all see it perfectly. This is what real power looks like. Richard squints at the screen. His eyes slowly widen. He sucks in a sharp breath of cold air, his entire body trembling violently. $2 billion. He stutters, his voice completely cracking. $2 billion in liquid cash? That's impossible. That's a national reserve amount of liquidity. Nobody has that much cash. Who are you? The crowd behind me erupts again. $2 billion liquid. He could buy the Sterling Group out in pure cash. Richard is finished. He messed with a hidden titan. The Sterlings are nothing compared to him. Richard is completely shattered. The illusion of his supreme wealth just evaporated in front of all his peers. He backs away from me, his pride completely broken. He turns to his assistants, screaming in a panicked, unhinged frenzy. Call the board. Call the banks. Initiate a citywide banking embargo against him. Freeze his assets. Do it now before he buys us out. I completely ignore his pathetic tantrum. I put my phone back in my hand and close the banking app. A new notification pops up on my screen from the Level 2 system upgrade. I tap it open, my eyes scanning the fresh text. Level 2 module unlocked, rapid hostile corporate takeover. Bypassing all standard board approvals and SEC regulations to allow direct majority equity buyouts using pure liquid capital. I barely have a second to process the new module description before my phone buzzes violently in my hand with a high-priority digital alert. I open the screen and see a flashing red notification from City Central Bank stating that all of my offshore accounts are completely restricted under emergency federal freeze protocols authorized by branch manager Hayes. I let out a cold laugh right there in the auction center lobby. Richard Sterling actually thinks he can just change the rules when he starts losing. He's entirely broke, so he called in a favor with his pet bank manager to freeze my funds, thinking that having a few local political connections gives him absolute authority over my capital. These old money dinosaurs think freezing my accounts will force me into a corner where I have to beg them for mercy. They're trying to play checkers while I'm playing with an infinite cashback system that literally bends reality to my will. I look back at the new Level 2 module interface on my screen. Rapid hostile corporate takeover. The system is telling me I don't need board meetings, I don't need SEC approval, and I don't need months of legal paperwork. All I need is pure liquid cash. I type City Central Bank into the system search bar. It's a massive financial institution, the absolute pillar of the city's elite, but private equity is always up for sale if you have enough money to force a majority buyout. The system calculates the total cost to take a 51% controlling interest and strip away all current executive power. $500 million. That's a massive number for anyone else, but I still have $2 billion sitting completely untouched in my primary account. I tap the purchase button without hesitating for a single second. Ding. The system chime rings in my head. Transaction registered. $500 million spent in hostile corporate acquisition. Triggering Level 2 tenfold cash return multiplier. Depositing $5 billion into generated system vault. Master executive control of City Central Bank transferred to host. $5 billion. I can feel the absolute power surging through me. I'm not just a player in the financial district anymore, I officially own the board. I walk straight out of the convention center, get into my Aventador, and drive directly to the bank headquarters downtown. I toss the keys to the terrified valet, march through the front glass doors, and completely ignore the tellers and lower management trying to ask for my appointment. I swipe my phone at the private VIP elevator, the system overriding the security lock instantly, and ride it straight to the top floor. The heavy oak doors of the VIP lounge slide open. Richard Sterling is sitting on a white leather sofa holding a crystal glass of champagne. Julian is sitting right next to him, sporting a massive purple bruise on his face from my garage, grinning like an idiot. Across from them is a fat man in a tight suit who has to be Hayes, the bank manager. They're clinking glasses, celebrating my supposed downfall. Richard sees me walk in. He doesn't even look surprised. He just sneers, looking at me like I'm a bug he just stepped on. I told you at the auction, boy. You're playing a very dangerous game, Richard says, his voice dripping with arrogance. Did you really think you could humiliate me in public and just walk away? I built this city's financial sector. One phone call to Hayes here, and your little $2 billion account is permanently locked. You have absolutely nothing. Julian points a finger at me, his eyes wide with manic glee. You're dead meat. You thought you could touch my Ferrari and get away with it? Now you can't even buy a sandwich. You're going to beg us on your knees. Hayes chuckles, his fat neck jiggling as he takes a sip of champagne. Your accounts are locked under suspicion of money laundering, son. You're completely frozen out. You can't even afford the lawyers you're going to need to fight this. Richard leans back, crossing his legs like he owns the world. I'm a reasonable man, Richard says, extorting me with a sickeningly sweet tone. Sign over the deed to that Zenith Tower penthouse you bought, transfer those AI servers to the Sterling Group for free, and I'll tell Hayes to lift the freeze on a few $1,000 so you can buy a bus ticket out of my city. If you don't agree, you'll be sleeping on the concrete by tonight, and tomorrow I'll have the police throw you in a cell. I don't argue with them. I don't even raise my voice. I just stare at them with a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. These idiots are completely oblivious to the sheer scale of the power they're messing with. I pull out my phone, access the bank's mainframe using my new executive credentials, and wirelessly project my screen right onto the massive digital presentation board mounted on the lounge wall. The screen flashes bright blue. The official corporate registry of City Central Bank appears in massive bold letters for everyone to see. Owner and executive chairman, Arthur. Controlling stake, 51%. Hayes drops his champagne glass. It shatters on the marble floor, splashing alcohol everywhere. His face drains of all color in an instant. He stares at the screen, his jaw hanging open like a dying fish. That's impossible. The board didn't approve any sale. You can't just buy a bank. Richard staggers to his feet, his eyes widening in pure horror as he reads the official registry. What is this? What did you do? Hayes panics completely, his face turning bright red. Security, get in here right now. This man is a hacker. Arrest him. 4 heavily armed bank security guards rush into the VIP lounge, their hands resting on their holsters, ready to draw. I don't even flinch. I just hold up my phone, the screen displaying my master override credentials and the digital deed to the entire building. I am the majority owner of this institution, I say, my voice completely flat and echoing loudly in the room. Hayes, you are officially fired for colluding with a client to illegally freeze a legitimate account. Pack your desk and get out of my building right now before I have you arrested for financial fraud. Hayes desperately tries to use his company tablet to lock me out of the system, but a massive red error flashes on his screen. The system overrides his credentials instantly. He starts shaking violently, realizing he just lost his entire career in a matter of seconds. The security guards look at my credentials on the screen, instantly step away from Hayes and stand at strict attention behind me, completely loyal to the new boss. I turn my attention back to Richard. He's hyperventilating, clutching his chest like he's having a heart attack. You think buying the bank changes anything? Richard screams, completely losing his mind. I still have a net worth of $5 billion. I let out a mocking laugh. Net worth is just debt, Richard. Let's look at your actual accounts. I tap my screen, pulling up the Sterling family's entire financial portfolio on the presentation board. The numbers are an absolute disaster. It's exactly what I expected from these arrogant old money families. They don't actually have billions sitting in a checking account. They use their stock shares as collateral to take out massive, over-leveraged commercial real estate loans to fund their luxury lifestyles, and all those loans are held right here by City Central Bank. As the new majority owner of this institution, I am officially executing my executive right to call in all of your active high-risk loans, I say, staring right into his terrified eyes. You have exactly 30 seconds to produce $1.2 billion in pure liquid cash to cover your margins, or you completely default. Richard screams, practically spitting on the floor. You can't do that. We have a 10-year repayment term. I just smirk, check the fine print. Executive discretion allows immediate recall in the event of high market volatility. Your time is up. I tap the screen again. A massive red stamp slams across the Sterling corporate profile. I initiate the automated asset seizure protocol right in front of him. I'm legally seizing your primary estates, your corporate stock shares, and all your liquid assets to cover the debt. You're completely bankrupt, Richard. You don't even own the suit you're wearing right now. Julian snaps entirely. I'll kill you. You ruined my life. Julian lunges at me, swinging a wild, desperate punch right at my head. I don't even move a muscle. Before he can even get within 3 feet of me, the bank security guards lunge forward and tackle him violently to the marble floor. Julian smashes into the ground with a heavy thud, screaming in pain as the guards aggressively twist his arms behind his back and snap heavy steel handcuffs onto his wrists. Get off me. Do you know who I am? Julian cries out, his face pressed against the cold stone. The head guard glares down at him in disgust. You're a trespasser assaulting the bank owner. Shut your mouth. The other wealthy clients in the VIP lounge are watching the entire thing unfold in absolute shock. They start whispering frantically, pointing at me. He just bankrupted the Sterling family in under 2 minutes. One executive mutters, his face pale. Richard is finished. He doesn't have a single penny left to his name. Who is this monster? He bought a bank just to crush them. Don't ever cross him. I hear every single word from the peanut gallery, but I couldn't care less. They're just realizing the new hierarchy of the city. With the Sterlings hauled away by security like common criminals, I sit down on the white leather sofa and open my banking app again to test my level 2 system vault capacity. I navigate to the bank's default asset registry, looking for something expensive to buy. I find a listing for a rare gemstone necklace seized from a previous debtor and sitting in the physical vault downstairs. It's valued at a flat $10 million. I tap buy. Ding. Transaction registered. $10 million spent from System Vault, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $100 million into System Vault. Passive skill unlocked. Asset appraisal. Instantly, a sharp tingling sensation washes over my eyes. I blink hard and suddenly the entire world changes. Floating digital green numbers appear over every single object and person in my line of sight. I look at a crystal champagne bottle shattered on the floor, and a glowing tag reads $4,500. I look at the white leather sofa, $12,000. I even look at one of the security guards standing near the door, and his net worth of $42,000 hovers right above his head. I can see the exact numerical monetary value of absolutely everything. Just as I'm testing the new skill, the heavy oak doors of the Vipe Lounge swing open. A young guy in an absurdly expensive tailored suit walks in, casually clapping his hands. He has a smug, arrogant grin on his face. I've never seen him before, but the way he walks into the room screams capital city money. He doesn't even glance at the empty spot where the sterlings were just standing. Not bad at all, he says, leaning casually against the doorframe. I just came down to this backwater branch to withdraw some petty cash for the weekend, but watching you completely dismantle Richard Sterling in under 3 minutes was highly entertaining. I'm Elias Thorne, the Thorne family. They basically own the commercial tech sector in the capital, acting like absolute tyrants over the entire industry. Elias walks over, completely unbothered by the fact that I just bought the bank he's standing in. You have a lot of cash, I'll give you that. But cash is boring. I saw you buy those AI servers at the auction tonight. I want them, but buying them from you outright is no fun. Let's make this interesting. Elias pulls a digital tablet from his jacket and tosses it onto the glass coffee table in front of me. Midnight tonight. The underground street circuit down by the docks. Bring that Aventador you parked out front. If you win, I'll give you this restricted commercial tech license. You can't buy these with money, only political connections. It'll make your little server farm 10 times more profitable. But if I win, I take your servers and your car. I look down at the tablet on the table. My new asset appraisal skill kicks in instantly. A massive glowing green number appears floating above the restricted tech license document displayed on the screen. $2.5 billion. Elias has absolutely no idea how valuable this license actually is in the hands of my system. If I win this race and acquire it, the system multiplier will generate a return so massive it'll completely break the local economy. I look up at Elias, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. You're on. But don't cry when you lose. Elias laughs out loud, his arrogance completely blinding him to the danger he's in. I don't lose to new money trash. See you at midnight. He turns and walks out of the lounge, completely full of himself. He thinks he's hustling me, but he has no idea he just walked right into a trap. I pull out my phone, open the Black Card Concierge app, and hit the speed dial for my valet downstairs. Fuel up the Lamborghini, I say into the phone. We're going to the street circuit. I hang up the phone and head straight for the VIP elevator. 30 minutes later, the midnight air rips past my windows as I pull the Aventador into the underground street circuit down by the docks. The place is packed with the city's degenerate elite. Hundreds of people mill around heavily modified sports cars, flashing cash and acting like they own the concrete. I roll the Lamborghini toward the starting line, and the crowd instantly parts, pointing and whispering. Look at this guy, bringing a factory stock Lambo to a street race. One guy laughs, holding a beer. He's gonna get absolutely smoked by Elias. New money trash always thinks the price tag makes the car fast. A girl next to him sneers. I hear every single word, but I just let out a cold laugh. They have absolutely no idea what's about to happen. Elias is already waiting by the starting line, leaning casually against a custom-built carbon fiber track hypercar that looks like it belongs in a professional circuit. His pit crew of about 20 massive guys in matching black jackets is swarming the vehicle, checking tire pressures and nitrous lines. Elias sees me pull up and walks over with that same smug, arrogant grin plastered on his face. You actually showed up, Elias says, tapping his knuckles against my driver's side window. I roll it down, resting my arm on the door. I thought you'd be too busy counting your little bank buyout money. Look at this thing. It's beautiful, but it's completely factory stock. I've got $200,000 under my hood just in engine tuning. My car is built for this specific mountain pass. I'm gonna gap you so bad you'll wish you never left that bank. He thinks he has me entirely figured out. He's relying on mechanical advantages and local track knowledge, thinking this is just a standard street race. He doesn't realize I'm not playing by the rules of physics or mechanics. I'm playing with a system that literally bends reality. Talk is cheap, Elias, I say, my voice completely flat. Just make sure you have that tech license ready when we cross the finish line. Elias throws his head back and laughs out loud. You're so arrogant it's actually pathetic. Fine, let's see what you've got. He walks back to his hypercar and straps in. I roll up my window and instantly open the level 2 infinite cashback system interface in my vision. The rapid hostile takeover module was just the beginning. I navigate to the newly unlocked skill shop tab. It's filled with digital chips ranging from martial arts to corporate negotiation, but right at the top is exactly what I need: advanced racing mastery. The price tag is a flat $20 million. For a normal person, spending $20 million on a driving skill is literal insanity. For me, it's just another way to generate massive wealth. I tap the purchase button without hesitating for a single second. Ding, transaction registered. $20 million spent from System Vault, triggering 10-fold multiplier, depositing $200 million into System Vault, initiating neural download. Instantly, a violent surge of heat rushes through my brain. My eyes widen as decades of professional racing experience, physics calculations, and micro-reflex muscle memory burn directly into my synapses. I blink hard, gripping the leather steering wheel. I can suddenly feel the exact weight distribution of the Aventador, the precise grip of the tires on the cold asphalt, and the perfect shift timing for every single gear. I'm not just a guy in a fast car anymore. I'm a machine. A girl in a tight skirt walks out to the center of the lanes, raising her arms. The engines roar, shaking the concrete beneath us. She drops her hands. We launch. Elias's hypercar explodes off the line, his rear tires screaming as he instantly pulls a full car length ahead of me. We tear out of the docks and hit the coastal mountain pass. It's a brutal, winding road with steep cliffs on one side and jagged rock walls on the other. On the first long straightaway, Elias hits his nitrous boost. Blue flames shoot from his exhaust and his car rockets forward, putting massive distance between us. The crowd watching on the drone feeds back at the starting line goes wild. I told you. Someone screams over the radio channel I have tuned in. Elias is destroying him. That stock Lambo can't keep up on the straights. I don't even flinch. I just keep my eyes locked on the road ahead. The straights belong to his engine, but the corners belong to my system. As we approach the first hairpin turn, Elias slams on his brakes early, taking the traditional, safe racing line. I don't brake. I keep my foot pinned to the floor. The advanced racing mastery takes over completely. At the absolute last millisecond, I violently flick the steering wheel and dump the clutch. The heavy Lamborghini kicks out sideways, drifting inches from the guardrail at terrifying speed. I perfectly clip the apex of the corner and rocket past him on the inside lane, stealing the lead in a single, impossible maneuver. Elias panics. I can see his face drain of all color in my rearview mirror. What the hell was that? He screams into his open comms. He's going to kill himself driving like that, but I don't stop. Corner after corner, I violently drift the massive car, carrying impossible momentum through the turns. Elias has to rely on his nitrous on the short straights just to keep my taillights in view. We hit the final stretch, a narrow cliffside pass approaching the finish line. I'm holding the inside line. Elias hits his last tank of nitrous and pulls up right next to me. Our doors are inches apart. I glance over. His eyes are completely bloodshot, his face twisted in pure, desperate rage. He realizes he can't beat me with speed, so he decides to play dirty. He sharply jerks his steering wheel, trying to violently ram the side of my Lamborghini and force me off the cliffside guardrail into the ocean below. It's a literal murder attempt just to save his pride. But my system-enhanced reflexes are entirely superhuman. I anticipate the weight shift of his chassis a fraction of a second before he even turns the wheel. I slam both feet on the brakes. My Aventador aggressively dives back, shedding speed instantly. Elias swerves into empty space. Without my car there to absorb the impact, he loses total control of his hypercar at over 140 miles an hour. His tires lock up, smoking wildly as he spins out. He smashes head-on into the heavy concrete barricades lining the cliff edge. The sickening crunch of carbon fiber and twisting metal echoes across the mountain. His car is completely destroyed, crumpling like an empty soda can. I smoothly shift back into gear, roll past his smoking wreck, and cross the finish line painted on the asphalt. I park the Lamborghini on the shoulder, step out into the cold night air, and walk slowly back toward the crash site. The drone cameras are hovering above, broadcasting the entire thing back to the docks. The radio channel is dead silent. Nobody can believe what they just saw. Elias kicks his crushed driver's side door open and crawls out onto the asphalt. He's covered in airbag powder and bleeding from a cut on his forehead. He staggers to his feet, staring at his ruined $2 million hypercar in absolute horror. "You psycho!" Elias screams, spitting blood onto the street. "You purposely brake-checked me. You ruined my car." I just stop a few feet away, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. "You tried to ram me off a cliff, Elias. You just lack the skill to pull it off. Now hand over the flash drive with the commercial tech license. You lost." Elias's face turns purple with rage. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out the silver flash drive, holding it tightly in his fist. "You think you're getting this? You're out of your mind. This license is worth billions in the right hands. I don't care if you won, you're not walking away with it." He raises his hand and snaps his fingers. Instantly, the roar of engines fills the road behind me. 3 heavy transport vans slam to a halt, and Elias's 20 pit crew members pour out, surrounding me in a tight circle. They're all holding heavy steel wrenches and tire irons, looking at me with pure killing intent. Elias laughs, coughing up another mouthful of blood. "You should have stayed at the bank, Arthur. You're entirely alone out here. Beat him to a pulp and throw him off cliff. Make it look like he lost control and crashed." The leader of the pit crew, a massive guy with a scarred face, steps forward, slapping a steel wrench into his palm. "Sorry, rich boy. Nothing personal. Boss's orders." The drone cameras are still broadcasting. The crowd back at the docks is watching me get surrounded. "He's dead meat," a voice echoes over the radio. "Elias never plays fair. That new money idiot is about to get tossed into the ocean." I hear them. I look at the 20 men surrounding me. I don't panic. I don't even raise my fist. I just activate my passive asset appraisal skill. Instantly, the world shifts. Floating digital green numbers appear over the head of every single pit crew member, but these aren't their net worths. These are their debts: medical bills, underwater mortgages, gambling losses. The guy with the scarred face has a glowing red number hovering over his skull, -$80,000. They're all entirely broke, just working muscle for a rich kid who probably pays them minimum wage. "Elias," I say, my voice cutting through the tension, perfectly calm. "You really think loyalty bought with pennies is going to save you?" I pull out my phone and open my city's central bank master executive application. "Listen up," I say directly to the pit crew. "Elias treats you like garbage and pays you nothing to risk prison time. I am the majority owner of City Central Bank. Drop the weapons right now and I will instantly wire $1 million in pure, untraceable cash into every single one of your accounts. You'll never have to work for this loser again." The pit crew freezes. The guy with the scarred face hesitates, lowering his wrench slightly. "You're lying," he mutters. "Nobody just hands out $20 million. I don't argue. I just type the mass transfer command into my phone, utilizing the banking mainframe to locate their connected mobile accounts in the area. I hit send. Ding. Transaction registered. $20 million transferred, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $200 million into System Vault. A second later, 20 cell phones chime simultaneously in the dark. The scarred guy pulls his phone out of his pocket. His eyes widen in absolute shock. He gasps, staring at the screen. "Holy crap, it's real. $1 million. It just cleared." The other men check their phones, their faces completely draining of color. The heavy steel wrenches drop to the asphalt with loud clangs. Elias looks around, sudden panic setting in. "What are you doing?" "I pay you. Hit him. Kill him right now." The scarred guy slowly puts his phone away, turns around, and looks at Elias with a completely different expression. "You pay us $1,000 a week to get yelled at, Elias. This guy just made me a millionaire." Without another word, the scarred guy lunges forward and violently tackles Elias to the concrete. Elias smashes into the ground with a heavy thud, screaming as 3 other crew members pile on top of him, aggressively pinning his arms and legs to the asphalt. "Get off me." Elias cries out, completely helpless, his arrogant confidence utterly shattered. "I'll ruin all of you. My family will destroy you." "Shut up," the scarred guy growls, pressing a knee into Elias's back. The crowd watching the drone feed is dead silent. They just watched 20 loyal men switch sides in less than 10 seconds, purely because I threw pocket change at them. I walk casually over to where Elias is pinned to the ground. I reach down and pry his fingers open, taking the silver flash drive containing the restricted commercial tech license. "Thanks for the license, Elias," I say, looking down at his humiliated face. "Next time you want to play with the big boys, make sure you actually have the cash to back it up." As my fingers close around the drive, the system interface flashes wildly in my vision. Ding. Milestone reward unlocked, high value asset acquired. Passive skill asset appraisal upgraded to level 2. Host can now view future corporate market trends and technology obsolescence rates. Bonus item awarded, physical deed to abandoned manufacturing plant in the industrial sector. I feel a heavy paper document materialize directly into the inner pocket of my coat. I don't even bother looking back at Elias as he thrashes on the ground. I walk to my Lamborghini, get in, and leave him stranded on the mountain with the men he used to own. I drive straight past the docks and head directly for the city's outer industrial sector. It takes 20 minutes to locate the massive, dark warehouse sitting at the edge of the district. I use the system-provided deed to bypass the electronic locks and roll the Aventador onto the empty factory floor. It's massive, fully equipped with dormant production lines, just waiting for a purpose. I pull out my laptop, connect it to the factory's mainframe, and insert the silver flash drive. I immediately link the terminal to the AI server farm I bought at the auction. "System," I say aloud, my voice echoing in the empty factory. Upload the restricted commercial tech license data. Cross-reference it with Horizon Tech's current product line. The massive screens in the factory roar to life. Millions of lines of code stream past my eyes as the AI servers process the restricted license. Because I now own this specific commercial clearance, I can legally manufacture hardware that completely bypasses Horizon Tech's patents. My upgraded asset appraisal skill kicks in. I look at the screen and see the glowing green market prediction hovering over Horizon Tech's primary microchip product. Obsolescence rate, 100% in 30 days. Initiate automated design for the new microchip, I command. The AI servers instantly begin formulating a processor that is 10 times faster and half the cost of anything Vance or my old company could ever dream of producing. I'm going to flood the market and completely bankrupt Horizon Tech from the outside, leaving them with worthless inventory. Just as the production lines begin to hum with power, my phone vibrates in my pocket. I pull it out and check the screen. It's a highly encrypted digital email sent directly from the mayor's private office. I open the message, the bright light illuminating my face in the dark warehouse. You are cordially invited to attend the annual Global Tech Summit as a VIP innovator. I read the words, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth as I realized this is the absolute perfect stage to launch my new product and destroy my enemies in front of the entire world. I fold my laptop shut, slip freshly manufactured prototype microchip into my coat pocket, and head straight for the Global Tech Summit. When I pull the Lamborghini up to the exhibition center, the place is absolutely crawling with industry elites, international buyers, and media reporters. I walk up to the VIP registration desk, ready to secure a distribution booth, but a completely familiar, irritating voice stops me dead in my tracks. Well, look who dragged himself out of the gutter. I don't even have to turn around. It's Victor Thorne, the CEO of Horizon Tech, the guy who basically rubber-stamped my firing just a few days ago to protect Vance. Victor steps out from behind a promotional banner, flanked by two massive security guards. He's wearing a custom-tailored suit and a completely smug, arrogant grin. I heard you made some noise at the local bank, Arthur, but this is a global stage, Victor says, looking me up and down with absolute disgust. This summit is for real innovators, not disgruntled former employees trying to sneak in. The surrounding crowd of tech developers and investors immediately stops talking and turns to watch. Isn't that the guy who got fired from Horizon? A guy in a gray suit whispers. Yeah, I heard he went crazy and started stalking his ex. What's he doing here? A woman next to him sneers. I hear every single word, but I don't even blink. I just pull out my phone. I'm here to register an independent exhibition booth, Victor. Get out of my way. Victor bursts out, laughing, shaking his head. Independent booth? You really are clueless. The registration deadline passed a week ago. The only way an independent developer gets floor space today is by posting a $50 million exhibition bond to prove they aren't a waste of time. Do you have $50 million in liquid cash, Arthur? Because I know exactly what we paid you, and it barely covered your rent. He thinks he has me completely cornered. He thinks he can just humiliate me in front of the entire industry and block my product launch using procedural red tape. He has absolutely no idea that his demand is just a free money printing machine for my system. 50 million, I say, my voice completely flat. Is that all? I open the infinite cashback system interface on my phone, linking it directly to the summit's public treasury portal. I type in $50 million and hit transfer without hesitating for a single millisecond. Ding, the system chimes in my ear. Transaction registered. $50 million spent from System Vault, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $500 million into System Vault. VIP status automatically upgraded to Diamond tier. Instantly, the digital pass on my phone screen shifts from a standard barcode to a glowing platinum QR code. I hold it up to the registration scanner. The machine lets out a loud, validating beep, and the LED screen above the desk flashes, "Welcome, Diamond tier exhibitor." Victor's arrogant smile freezes entirely on his face. He stares at the screen, his eyes widening in pure shock. What? What did you just do? That's impossible. He stammers, pointing a shaking finger at me. He hacked the system. Guards. Drag this fraud out of here right now. The two massive security guards step forward, reaching for my shoulders. I don't even flinch. I wouldn't do that if I were you, I say coldly. Scan my credentials. The head guard hesitates, pulls out his handheld scanner, and runs it over my phone. His face drains of all color. He quickly pockets the scanner, turns his back to me, and violently shoves Victor out of the way. Step aside, mister. Thorne, the guard barks. This gentleman is a Diamond tier VIP. You are only a Gold tier exhibitor. If you harass him again, we will revoke your access. The crowd watching lets out a collective gasp. Did he just drop 50 million in cash like it was nothing? Someone mutters. And he outranks the CEO of Horizon Tech. I let out a cold laugh, brush past Victor's stunned, humiliated face, and walk straight into the main exhibition hall. The main hall is packed with thousands of people. All the major international buyers are gathered around the massive center stage. I check the schedule. Victor is up first. I grab a seat in the front row just as Victor jogs up the stage steps, completely out of breath from running to catch up. He forces a fake, confident smile for the cameras, standing in front of a giant presentation monitor displaying the Horizon Tech logo. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor announces into the microphone, trying to ignore me sitting right in front of him. Today, Horizon Tech is proud to unveil the future of processing power. Our new flagship microchip. It's 30% faster than the industry standard and highly cost-effective. The crowd claps politely. Investors start pulling out their digital checkbooks, completely bought into the hype. I just lean back in my chair and activate my newly upgraded level 2 asset appraisal skill. My vision shifts. A stream of green digital data falls over the massive holographic chip rotating on the screen behind Victor. My eyes narrow. The system pulls the exact schematics and runs a stress simulation in less than a second. A glowing red warning box pops up over Victor's head. Market value 0. Critical design flaw detected. Thermal overload threshold extremely compromised. 100% chance of catastrophic failure under maximum load. I almost laugh out loud. Victor didn't just build a bad chip, he built a literal bomb. He rushed the production to meet the summit deadline and completely skipped the thermal regulation testing. This chip will revolutionize cloud computing. Victor yells, throwing his hands up to milk the applause. I've heard enough. I stand up from my chair and walk straight up the stage steps. The crowd goes dead silent. The security guards at the bottom of the stairs don't even try to stop me because my diamond tier badge gives me all access clearance. I walk right up to the central testing terminal on the podium, pull my prototype microchip out of my coat pocket, and slam it onto the scanner tray. Victor whips around, his face turning purple with rage. Arthur, what the hell do you think you're doing? Get off my stage. I ignore him completely. I plug my phone into the terminal and project my prototype's data onto the giant monitors right next to Horizon's chip. You're selling them garbage, Victor, I say directly into the podium microphone, my voice echoing across the massive hall. Your thermal regulation is entirely compromised. You're gonna burn down their server farms. I brought a real processor. Let's run a side-by-side benchmark stress test right now and prove it. The international buyers in the crowd instantly start murmuring. A stress test? If Horizon's chip fails, my entire company goes under, a major investor shouts from the second row. Victor panics. He knows he cut corners on the thermal paste and heat sinks. He knows his chip can't survive a maximum load test. He waves his arms frantically at the event technicians sitting in the sound booth at the back of the hall. Cut the power to the stage. Cut the screens. He's trying to sabotage the summit. The technicians immediately reach for the master breaker switches. I don't panic. I just open my infinite cashback system interface again. I navigate to the summit's venue management portal. The entire event center's electrical grid rights are available for emergency commercial buyout. The price is $200 million. I tap the purchase button. Ding. Transaction registered. $200 million spent from System Vault, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $2 billion into System Vault. Master operational control transferred to host. Instantly, an override application downloads straight onto my phone. I tap the screen and lock the entire building's power grid. Back in the sound booth, the technicians are violently slamming their hands on the breaker switches, but nothing happens. The red lights on their consoles turn solid green. Mr. Thorne. The lead technician screams over the radio. We're completely locked out. Someone just bought the entire grid. Victor's jaw drops. He stares at me, completely terrified. I just give him a cold smirk and hit the enter key on the podium terminal to initiate the benchmark test. The giant monitors flash red. The automated testing software dumps a maximum data load into both microchips simultaneously. A giant timer appears on the screen. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. My chip handles the load perfectly. The temperature gauge stays ice cold, hovering at a stable 40 degrees. Victor's chip immediately spikes. The temperature reading rockets to 90 degrees, then 120. Stop the test. Victor screams, lunging for the podium to rip the cables out. I just sidestep and shove him hard in the chest, sending him stumbling back onto his rear end. 20 seconds. 30 seconds. A loud pop echoes across the stage. A literal plume of thick, acrid black smoke shoots out of the Horizon Tech display case. The flagship processor catches fire, melting the plastic housing and setting off the stage's emergency smoke alarms. The crowd erupts into absolute chaos. It's on fire. Horizon's chip literally exploded. An investor yells, backing away from the stage in horror. We pre-ordered 10,000 units. Cancel the contracts right now. The international buyers scramble, pulling out their phones and frantically calling their finance departments. Within 30 seconds, the giant stock ticker on the wall of the exhibition hall shows Horizon Tech's stock price completely nosediving, dropping 60% in real time. My prototype microchip on the screen is still running at peak efficiency, handling the maximum load without a single drop in performance. The same investors who were ignoring me 5 minutes ago suddenly rush the stage, completely swarming the podium. Mr. Arthur, we want to buy your entire inventory. A tech billionaire from Europe shouts, shoving a blank check at my face. We'll sign a 10-year exclusive distribution deal right now. I look down at Victor, who is sitting on the floor of the stage, coughing on the black smoke, watching his entire corporate empire burn to the ground in less than a minute. He's finished. He's totally financially ruined. Suddenly, a woman steps out from behind the burning presentation booth. I instantly recognize her. It's Sarah, but she isn't wearing the expensive designer dresses she used to flaunt when we dated. She's wearing a cheap, tight promotional uniform, holding a tray of Horizon Tech pamphlets. When Vance got fired and his assets seized, Sarah must have desperately latched onto Victor to keep her corporate lifestyle, only to get demoted to a booth girl. Seeing the investors throwing millions of dollars at me, Sarah's eyes light up with pure opportunistic greed. She drops the pamphlets, rushes across the stage, and aggressively grabs my arm. Arthur, oh my God, Arthur, I'm so proud of you. Sarah begs, putting on a sickeningly sweet, desperate smile. I knew Horizon was holding you back. I only pretended to stay with Vance and Victor to spy on them for you. Hire me. I can be your executive sales representative. We can be a team again. I look down at her hand gripping my sleeve. I feel absolutely nothing but complete disgust. I violently yank my arm away, making her stumble forward. You're delusional, Sarah, I say, my voice dripping with cold disdain. You're absolutely worthless to me. I turn to the venue security guards who are standing at the bottom of the stairs. I own the diamond tier rights to this stage, I command them. These two are disturbing my product launch. Throw them out. The guards don't hesitate for a second. They rush up the stairs, grab Victor by his suit collar and Sarah by her cheap promotional uniform, and literally drag them kicking and screaming off the stage and out the emergency exit doors. Once they are gone, I pull out my trading app. With Horizon's contracts entirely canceled, I list the voided agreements on the open market, aggressively shorting their remaining shares. The stock hits literal zero. Horizon Tech is officially bankrupt. Ding! The system chimes rapidly in my ear. Hostile market domination achieved. Corporate destruction milestone met. Upgrading infinite cashback system to level 3. Daily transaction limits expanded. Bonus item awarded. Master blueprint for next generation quantum server deposited into system inventory. A massive surge of heat washes through my brain as the quantum server schematics burn directly into my memory. I am no longer just dominating the microchip market. I am about to control the entire global data infrastructure. I ignore the screaming investors begging for my attention. I already have their money, and my AI factory will handle the fulfillment automatically. I pocket my prototype, turn my back on the chaotic main hall, and walk out the front doors of the Global Tech Summit. I need to get to the docks. I have a newly acquired offshore tech facility to inspect to house these quantum servers. As I walk to my Lamborghini, I pass the sidewalk just outside the venue gates. Victor and Sarah are sitting on the cold concrete. Victor is holding his head in his hands, crying over his completely evaporated wealth, while Sarah is frantically swiping on her phone, desperately trying to find someone else to leech off of. I don't even slow my pace. I get into the Aventador, rev the massive engine, and pull out into the street, leaving them totally bankrupt and unemployed on the sidewalk. I hit the gas and don't look back in the rearview mirror even once because people like Victor and Sarah are already ghosts to me. My phone buzzes with a notification from my newly upgraded level 3 infinite cashback system, reminding me that the master blueprint for the next generation quantum server is sitting in my inventory just waiting to be deployed. I drive straight to the private airfield on the edge of the city where my chartered helicopter is already waiting on the tarmac with its rotors spinning. I toss the valet a stack of hundreds to park the Lamborghini, climb into the leather seat of the chopper, and tap the coordinates for my newly acquired offshore tech facility into the pilot's navigation screen. The flight over the ocean takes less than 20 minutes, but as the island facility comes into view through the reinforced glass, my eyes instantly narrow. The private landing pad isn't empty like my system deed stated it should be. The massive steel blast doors leading into the underground manufacturing grid are completely barricaded by at least 50 heavily armed private military contractors wearing full tactical gear and holding assault rifles. I can see the logo for Aegis Security stamped on their Kevlar vests. Standing right in the middle of this heavily armed blockade is a guy in a bright white designer suit, completely out of place against the gray concrete and black tactical gear, casually smoking a cigar like he owns the place. The pilot looks back at me with wide eyes, shouting over the headset that we can't land because the landing zone is hot, but I just tell him to set it down right in front of them or he's fired. The chopper touches down, kicking up a massive cloud of dust, and I step out onto the concrete landing pad without a single ounce of hesitation. 50 armed contractors instantly raise their rifles, pointing 50 laser sights directly at my chest. I don't even flinch. I just keep walking forward until I'm standing less than 10 feet away from the guy in the white suit. He takes a slow drag from his cigar and blows the smoke right in my direction, a sickeningly arrogant smirk plastered across his face. "You must be Arthur," he says, his voice dripping with absolute entitlement. "I'm Marcus Blackwood. My family practically owns the regional tech monopoly in this sector, which means we own the airspace, the shipping lanes, and everything built on this rock." I cross my arms and just stare at him. "This facility belongs to me. You have exactly 10 seconds to get your mercenaries off my property before things get ugly." Marcus bursts out laughing, shaking his head like I just told a hilarious joke. The mercenaries around him chuckle, adjusting their grips on their weapons. "Your property?" Marcus sneers, stepping closer. "Not anymore. My father, Senator Blackwood, just drafted a local mandate claiming this island as a regional security asset. We know exactly what you did at the Global Tech Summit, Arthur. We know you have the quantum server blueprints. You want access to this facility? Fine. Transfer the digital blueprints to my personal drive right now as an entry toll, and maybe I'll let you keep a 5% share of your own company. Refuse, and my boys here will just shoot you and take your phone." He actually thinks he has me cornered. He thinks a bunch of hired guns and a corrupt politician's mandate mean absolutely anything to a guy with an infinite money cheat. I let out a cold laugh. "You want to play the corporate leverage game with me?" I ask, pulling my phone out of my pocket. "You're out of your league, Marcus." Marcus just rolls his eyes and snaps his fingers, gesturing for the Aegis security captain to step forward and take my device. "Grab it," Marcus orders, "and break his fingers if he resists." Before the captain can even take a single step, I open my level 3 infinite cashback system interface. I don't look at the mercenaries. I don't look at Marcus. I just navigate straight to the global corporate registry and target Aegis Security's parent corporation. The company's total private equity valuation is sitting right at $1 billion. For any normal person, pulling $1 billion in liquid cash out of nowhere is physically impossible. For me, it's just a Tuesday. I tap the purchase button without hesitating for a single millisecond. Ding, the system chimes in my ear. Transaction registered. $1 billion spent from offshore accounts, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $10 billion into System Vault. Hostile acquisition complete. Master command protocols transferred to host. A massive green notification flashes across my screen, confirming I am now the sole owner and majority shareholder of Aegis Security. I look up from my phone, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. Marcus is still standing there with his hand out, waiting for me to hand over the blueprints. "What are you smiling at, you piece of trash?" Marcus spits, his face turning red with anger. "Shoot him in the leg and take the phone." The Aegis captain raises his rifle, but before he can pull the trigger, I tap the master override command on my screen and project the digital ownership transfer documents directly onto the facility's massive external LED monitors mounted above the blast doors. The giant screens flash bright red, displaying my name as the Supreme Executive Director of the entire mercenary corporation, complete with verified cryptographic signatures. The captain freezes mid-step. His eyes widen in pure shock as he stares up at the screen. The other 49 contractors instantly lower their weapons, their faces draining of all color. "Captain," Marcus screams, completely losing his mind. "I gave you a direct order. Shoot him." The captain ignores Marcus entirely. He looks at his own wrist-mounted tactical tablet, which just pinged with an emergency corporate restructuring alert, validating my absolute authority. He turns his head slowly, looking at Marcus with complete disgust, then looks at me and immediately snaps to attention. "Orders, sir?" The captain asks, his voice trembling slightly. Marcus's jaw drops. He looks around frantically as the 50 armed guards, who were just taking his orders, suddenly shift their stances, pointing their weapons toward him instead. "What are you doing?" Marcus shrieks, his voice cracking. "My father pays your contracts. You work for the Blackwood family?" I don't even raise my voice when I speak. "Actually, Marcus, they work for me now." Detain him. Without a second of hesitation, the captain steps forward, grabs Marcus by the collar of his expensive white suit, and violently kicks the back of his knees. Marcus smashes into the concrete with a heavy thud, gasping in pain as two more guards grab his arms and force him to stay kneeling on the landing pad. "Get your hands off me," Marcus screams, struggling wildly against the mercenary. "My father is a United States senator. He'll have all of you executed for this." "You're dead, Arthur. You hear me?" I walk right past the kneeling heir, not even bothering to look down at him. "Keep him quiet," I tell the captain. One of the guards immediately backhands Marcus across the face, shutting him up instantly. The crowd of mercenaries parts like the Red Sea, completely terrified of the guy who just bought a billion-dollar military corporation from his cell phone in less than 10 seconds. I step up to the massive steel blast doors, scan my system-generated biometric pass, and listen to the heavy pneumatic locks disengage. The doors slide open, revealing the massive, state-of-the-art underground control room. It's completely empty, rows of supercomputers and automated assembly lines just waiting for a command. I walk straight to the central mainframe terminal, plug my phone into the primary console, and upload the master blueprint for the next-generation quantum server directly into the manufacturing grid. The entire facility instantly powers up. Warning lights flash green, and the heavy automated robotic arms in the lower levels roar to life, immediately beginning the construction of the massive quantum infrastructure. Ding! The system chimes rapidly in my ear. Infrastructure upgrade registered. Quantum server network initializing. Bonus items awarded: AI cyber warfare module and level 1 physical kinetic shield generator deposited into system inventory. I feel a heavy metallic weight materialize in my inner coat pocket. I pull it out. It's a sleek black disc the size of a coin, pulsing with a faint blue light. The kinetic shield generator, a piece of technology that doesn't even exist in this era yet. Before I can even examine it, the central control room terminal starts blaring a high-pitched incoming transmission alarm. An encrypted video call forces its way onto the main monitor. The screen flickers, revealing the furious, red-faced image of Senator Blackwood sitting in his lavish political office. He must have received a panic signal from Marcus's security detail right before they switched sides. "Arthur," the senator bellows, slamming his fist on his mahogany desk. "I don't know what kind of cheap parlor trick you just pulled to buy off my son's security team, but you have just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic life. You are dealing with the federal government now. If you don't release Marcus and hand over those quantum blueprints in the next 5 minutes, I will personally sign an executive order to deploy a naval blockade around your entire island. I will starve you out, seize your assets, and bury you in a black site prison where you will never see the sun again." The senator breathes heavily, thinking his political weight is enough to crush me. He expects me to beg. He expects me to panic. I just lean over the console, staring right into the camera lens with a dead, emotionless expression. "A naval blockade?" I say quietly. "That's a very expensive threat, Senator. Let's see if you can actually afford it." I pull up the newly acquired AI cyber warfare module on my phone screen and wirelessly link it to the rapidly assembling quantum servers beneath my feet. The module doesn't just hack systems, it completely obliterates digital architecture. I type in Senator Blackwood's name and hit execute. The quantum AI unleashes a devastating algorithmic assault, entirely bypassing the highest level of government firewalls in less than 3 seconds. Streams of encrypted financial data flood my monitors. I see everything. Every offshore shell company, every hidden Cayman Islands account, every single illegal campaign contribution the Blackwood family has hoarded over the last 20 years. "What are you doing?" the senator demands, his arrogant facade slipping as he watches my eyes track the data on the screen. "You can't touch me. I have sovereign immunity." "Immunity doesn't protect your bank accounts," I reply coldly. I tap the screen one more time. The AI instantly liquidates the Blackwood family's entire foreign portfolio. $3 billion of illegal campaign funds are forcefully extracted from their accounts and transferred directly into my system vault. Ding! Transaction complete. $3 billion acquired. The senator's face drains of all color. He looks down at his own computer screen off camera, his eyes widening in absolute horror. My accounts, they're gone. Everything is gone. You stole $3 billion. He stammers, hyperventilating as he watches his entire generational wealth evaporate into thin air. "I didn't steal it," I say smoothly. "I just relocated it. But we aren't done yet, Senator." With a final swipe of my finger, I order the quantum AI to package every single one of his bribery ledgers, illegal wiretaps, and corrupt corporate contracts into a massive data dump. I broadcast the entire file directly to every major international news network, social media platform, and federal oversight agency on the planet simultaneously. Within seconds, my secondary monitor lights up with breaking news alerts from major networks. The senator stares at the newsfeed on his end, clutching his chest, completely ruined. He opens his mouth to speak, but the sound of heavy sirens echoing through his office window cuts him off. The transmission abruptly terminates. He's finished. The public will tear his family apart. I unplug my phone, turn my back on the monitors, and walk out of the control room back onto the landing pad. Marcus is still kneeling on the concrete, his face bruised from where the guard hit him. He looks up at me, still desperately clinging to his dying ego. "My father is going to end you," Marcus spits, though his voice is shaking. "He's probably dispatching the Navy right now." I look down at him with pure pity. "Your father is currently being handcuffed by federal agents, Marcus. Your family's money is gone. Your political power is gone. You are officially nobody." Marcus gasps, sucking in a breath of cold air, his eyes darting frantically as he realizes I am not bluffing. "Captain," I say, turning to the mercenary leader, "confiscate all of his communication devices. Strip him of his jacket and his shoes." The guards immediately swarm Marcus, ripping his expensive suit jacket off and tossing his phone into the ocean. Marcus thrashes wildly, completely terrified now. "What are you doing?" "Wait. Arthur, wait. We can make a deal." He screams, sobbing as the reality of his situation finally sets in. I ignore his pathetic begging. "Put him on one of the unpowered emergency life rafts," I command the captain. "Push him out into the current. Let him drift back to the mainland. If he survives the sharks, he can go live in a cardboard box with his father." The guards drag the screaming, crying heir toward the edge of the concrete pier, tossing him onto a tiny inflatable raft and kicking it out into the choppy ocean water. I don't even bother watching him float away. I pull the black kinetic shield generator out of my pocket and press it against my chest. The device hums, instantly dissolving into a faint, invisible energy matrix that binds directly to my skin, perfectly equipping itself. I feel a massive surge of defensive power lock into place. With my physical safety completely guaranteed and the offshore facility fully secured, I pull up my phone screen one last time. The quantum servers are fully online now, humming with terrifying processing power. I open the global stock exchange map, the AI instantly highlighting dozens of massive, vulnerable tech conglomerates with glowing red target markers, completely unaware that I am coming to devour their entire market share. I scan the glowing red target markers on my phone screen, my eyes instantly locking onto the largest, most bloated node on the entire map, the European Data Consortium, or EDC. For the past decade, EDC has held an absolute, suffocating monopoly over global data routing, crushing any independent startups that dared to enter their airspace. Their CEO, Klaus Richter, is the kind of old money parasite who thinks the world owes him tribute just because he was born into the right family. In my past life, I watched Klaus casually destroy thousands of small businesses just to bump his quarterly profit margins by a fraction of a percent. He used corporate espionage, political lobbying, and predatory pricing to bleed everyday people dry. Not today. I tap the EDC node on my screen and command my newly acquired AI cyber warfare module to penetrate their mainframes. The quantum servers beneath my feet hum with terrifying processing power, effortlessly slicing through EDC's enterprise-grade firewalls like they don't even exist. I open my level 3 infinite cashback system interface and navigate straight to the global infrastructure bond market. Klaus thinks his company is perfectly secure because his equity is heavily guarded by international banks, but he doesn't actually own the physical fiber optic cables his empire relies on. He leases them. I select every single underlying infrastructure bond tied to EDC's global network. The total price tag sits at a staggering $10 billion. For any normal corporation, raising $10 billion in liquid cash would take months of board meetings and congressional approvals. I don't even blink. I hit the purchase button. Ding. The system chimes in my ear. Transaction registered. $10 billion spent from System Vault, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $100 billion into host account. Hostile acquisition complete. Master access keys to EDC global server hubs transferred to inventory. State change recognized. A heavy, satisfying weight settles in my chest as the digital keys lock into my phone. I now personally own the physical roads Klaus uses to transmit his data. I am the absolute majority controller of his entire infrastructure. I pull up a live international news feed on my secondary control room monitor. Right on cue, Klaus Richter is hosting a massive live broadcast from EDC headquarters in Geneva. The screen shows a lavish auditorium packed with hundreds of top-tier international investors, tech journalists, and corporate elites. Klaus stands at the center of the stage wearing a custom-tailored suit, practically glowing with arrogant confidence. He's unveiling a brand new data pricing model, a predatory scheme designed to squeeze even more money out of his captive market. Ladies and gentlemen, Klaus says into his microphone, his voice dripping with condescension. The future of global data is exclusive. Some of you may have heard rumors about a minor market anomaly today. A rogue offshore facility attempting to disrupt the natural order of the tech industry. He lets out a cold laugh, shaking his head. Let me assure you, this so-called quantum startup is nothing but a flash in the pan. A desperate stunt by a nobody who doesn't understand how real power works. EDC remains untouchable. We dictate the market. We control the future. The crowd of investors erupts into applause. I can hear the journalists murmuring in agreement, their voices picked up by the auditorium microphones. He's right. One wealthy investor whispers loudly to the man next to him that Arthur Kidd is just a lottery winner playing with toys. Klaus will crush him by next week. He doesn't have the infrastructure to compete. Another analyst scoffs. Arthur's gonna be begging Klaus for a buyout before the month is over. He's dead meat. I listened to every single word. I couldn't care less. Cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. Klaus really thinks he's untouchable. He has no idea he's standing in a house that I already own. I plug my phone back into the main control console and activate the master access keys I just bought. I don't just hack his broadcast. I take absolute control of it. With a single swipe of my finger, I override the Geneva Auditorium's media feeds. On the live broadcast, Klaus's presentation slides abruptly vanish. The massive LED screens behind him flash violently, turning a deep blood red, before displaying my official ownership documents, complete with verified global cryptographic signatures. The entire auditorium goes dead silent. The applause cuts off instantly. Klaus frowns, turning around to look at the screens. His face drains of all color. He gasps, stumbling backward as if he's just been physically struck. What is this? He demands, his voice cracking. Cut the feed. Cut feed right now. The event technicians scramble at their desks, smashing their keyboards, but they're completely locked out. I tap the microphone icon on my phone and speak directly into the auditorium's sound system. My voice echoes through Geneva and across the live international broadcast. Hello, Klaus. I heard you talking about the natural order of the tech industry. Figured it was time for a management update. The investors in the crowd stare in absolute shock. Klaus' eyes widen with pure terror. Arthur, he screams, pointing a shaking finger at the camera lens. You can't do this. This is illegal. You have no jurisdiction here. I let out a cold laugh. I own the infrastructure, Klaus, which means I own you. I don't give him another second to speak. I issue a total override command through my phone to disable EDC's proprietary data routing entirely. Across the globe, millions of EDC servers instantly go dark. Their network completely flatlines. On the secondary news ticker running at the bottom of the broadcast, I watch EDC's stock price plummet in real time. It drops 50%, then 80%, then hits absolute zero. The company is wiped out in less than 10 seconds. The Geneva Auditorium erupts into total chaos. Investors are screaming, ripping up their contracts, and throwing their phones at the stage. My money, one investor shrieks. He ruined us. Richter, you bastard. Klaus drops to his knees on the stage, clutching his chest, completely financially ruined. He's finished. Everything he built is worthless. But a cornered rat will always try to bite. I watch through the hacked security cameras as Klaus crawls off the stage, pulling out a heavily encrypted satellite phone. He's hyperventilating, his eyes bloodshot with absolute lethal intent. He dials a number, using his last hidden offshore funds to contact the Crimson Vipers, the most ruthless and expensive private military contractor group in Europe. I want him dead. Klaus shrieks into the phone, spitting blood from biting his own lip. Take everything I have left. 10 million, 50 million, I don't care. Burn his offshore facility to the ground and bring me his head. The connection cuts. Klaus just signed his own death warrant. He actually thinks a handful of mercenaries can break through a facility backed by an infinite money system. Exactly 30 minutes later, the proximity alarms inside my control room start blaring a deafening red alert. I look up at the reinforced glass windows just as two massive, blacked-out stealth helicopters drop out of the cloud cover, hovering directly over the island's landing pad. The side doors slide open, revealing 50 heavily armed Crimson Viper mercenaries. They don't even bother demanding a surrender. They just open fire. Dozens of armor-piercing rounds tear through the air, completely shredding the concrete and sparking violently against the blast doors. The bullets fly straight toward the control room windows, aimed right at my head. I don't even flinch. I stand perfectly still, my hands resting casually in my pockets, and activate the physical kinetic shield generator I equipped earlier. The device buried beneath my shirt hums with immense power. A transparent hexagonal energy dome instantly projects outward, wrapping the entire control room in a flawless defensive grid. The armor-piercing rounds smash into the energy dome and flatten like cheap tin foil, dropping harmlessly to the ground. The mercenaries in the helicopters stop shooting. Their eyes widen in absolute disbelief. What the hell is that? One of them screams over the rotor wash. Our rounds aren't penetrating. He's got some kind of sci-fi energy shield. They are completely terrified. They brought assault rifles to a futuristic war they can't possibly comprehend. I pull up the AI cyber warfare module on my phone and lock onto the 2 stealth helicopters. Their avionics security is a joke compared to the quantum servers. I hit the execute button. Instantly, the digital displays inside the choppers short out. I manually disable their tail rotors and force their engines into an emergency auto-rotational descent. The pilots scream in panic as the heavy birds slam down hard onto the concrete landing pad, completely grounded and useless. Before the mercenaries can even unbuckle their harnesses, I command the island's automated defense grid. Hidden panels in the concrete slide open, revealing heavy suppression turrets that lock onto the grounded choppers. My newly acquired Aegis guards swarm out from the lower levels, aiming their weapons directly at the Crimson Vipers. The mercenary commander looks at the energy dome, looks at the automated turrets, and immediately throws his rifle onto the tarmac, raising his hands in total surrender. The rest of his men follow suit, dropping their weapons and dropping to their knees. Ding. The system chimes rapidly in my ear. Territorial defense successfully executed. Hostile forces neutralized. System upgrading to level 4. Maximum daily transaction limit expanded to $1 trillion. Bonus reward acquired, physical blueprint for Neuralink combat exoskeleton deposited into system inventory. I feel a surge of absolute adrenaline rush through my veins. $1 trillion. I can buy entire countries now. I turn off the kinetic shield and walk out onto the landing pad, the heavy blast doors sliding open behind me. I walk straight up to the Crimson Viper commander kneeling on the concrete. I don't ask politely. I kick him squarely in the chest, sending him sprawling onto his back. He gasps for air, his face pale with fear. Who hired you? I ask, my voice dead and cold. The commander coughs, instantly breaking under the pressure. Klaus Richter, he stammers, putting his hands up to protect his face. He's fleeing. He took a private jet to a subterranean auction in Zurich. He's trying to sell EDC's final prototype quantum core to international buyers to fund his escape. Please, man, we were just taking a contract. I look down at him with complete disgust. Klaus is still trying to salvage his ruined empire. He really doesn't know when to quit. I pull out my phone and upload the newly acquired Neuralink combat exoskeleton blueprint directly into the island's automated manufacturing plant. The underground factory immediately roars to life, the heavy robotic arms shifting gears to construct my personal armor. I turn away from the mercenaries and gesture to my helicopter pilot, who has been hiding behind the refueling tanks this whole time. Get the chopper ready, I tell him, walking past the detained Vipers and strapping myself into the leather seat. Set the flight coordinates for Zurich, because Klaus is about to find out that running only makes it worse. The flight takes just under 2 hours. I spend the entire time calibrating the newly acquired Neuralink combat exoskeleton. The automated manufacturing plant back on my island fabricated it flawlessly. It isn't some bulky suit of medieval armor. It is a sleek, hyperdense kinetic mesh that fits perfectly beneath my custom-tailored coat. I step off the chopper into the biting Swiss cold and walk directly toward the entrance of the subterranean auction bunker, hidden beneath a massive abandoned bank in Zurich's financial district. 2 massive mercenary guards wearing heavy tactical gear step directly in my path, crossing their assault rifles to block the heavy steel blast doors. Stop right there, kid, the lead guard barks, giving me a dismissive once-over. This is a private 0-tier event. Physical invitations only. Turn around before I break your legs. He actually thinks he's intimidating. I don't even bother looking him in the eye. I pull out my phone and open my level 4 infinite cashback system interface. I activate my asset appraisal skill. The digital data hovers right over the guard's head, showing me exactly who signs his paychecks. Vanguard Security Solutions, a high-end private military corporation managing the entire bunker's security detail. They are valued at roughly $40 billion on the open market. I don't waste time negotiating with underlings. I type a massive $50 billion offer directly into the Global Defense Contractor Registry and execute a hostile corporate buyout of Vanguard's parent company using my system vault. Ding, the system chimes in my ear. Transaction registered, $50 billion spent, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $500 billion into host account. Master command protocols for Vanguard Security Solutions transferred to interface. State change recognized. The digital transfer takes less than a second. I casually slide my phone back into my pocket. The lead guard sneers, stepping closer and raising the butt of his rifle. Are you deaf? I told you to get lost. I look at him dead in the eye. Stand down and open the doors. I own your entire company now." The guard lets out a loud, mocking laugh, looking back at his partner. But before he can say another word, his tactical earpiece emits a high-pitched beep. His commanding officer's voice screams through the encrypted comms, echoing loud enough for me to hear. The guard's face instantly drains of all color. His eyes widen in absolute horror as he looks back at me. His hands start shaking so violently, he almost drops his expensive rifle onto the concrete. He immediately snaps to attention, stepping aside and bowing his head in total submission. "Understood, boss." "Right away, boss." He punches an override code into the keypad on the wall. The heavy reinforced vault doors hiss and slowly grind open, revealing a lavishly lit corridor leading down into the earth. I don't give the guards a second glance as I walk right past them. I step onto the main bidding floor, and the sheer arrogance in the room is suffocating. The subterranean chamber is packed with Europe's absolute worst parasites. Corrupt tech billionaires, shadow market brokers, and international arms dealers sitting in velvet chairs, sipping expensive champagne. Up on the brilliantly lit center stage stands Klaus Richter. He looks like a complete wreck. His custom suit is wrinkled, his tie is loose, and he's sweating heavily under the spotlights, but he's desperately trying to project control. Resting on a reinforced glass pedestal next to him is the prize: the EDC's final prototype quantum core. It's a dense, glowing piece of tech that represents the absolute peak of his ruined empire's research. Klaus taps the microphone, his voice trembling just a little. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announces, forcing a strained smile. "The European Data Consortium may have suffered a temporary setback today due to illegal cyber terrorism, but this prototype core is the key to total network supremacy. We are starting the bidding at $10 billion. This is your chance to own the future." The crowd murmurs, smelling blood in the water. They know Klaus is desperate, but the tech is undeniably valuable. Before anyone else can raise a paddle, a heavy, booming voice cuts through the room. 15 billion. The crowd parts slightly as Baron Adler stands up in the front row. He's a massive, scarred man wearing a ridiculously expensive fur-lined coat. He's one of the most prominent arms magnates on the continent. Adler looks at Klaus with total contempt. "Let's skip the theatrics, Richter. We all know you're begging for travel money. I'll take that core to power my private orbital weapons network. With that kind of processing speed, I'll have total firing control over every satellite in the hemisphere. No one else here has the capital or the infrastructure to use it." The surrounding attendees whisper among themselves, nodding in agreement. Adler's right, one broker mutters. He's basically a king now. No one is going to outbid him for an orbital network. Another scoffs. Poor Klaus. From CEO to street peddler in one day. Adler crosses his arms, looking incredibly smug as he waits for the auctioneer to drop the hammer. I don't wait. I pull out my phone, link my newly acquired security credentials to the bunker's public address system, and speak right into the receiver. 100 billion. My voice blasts through the massive speakers, rattling the crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. Every single head in the room snaps toward the back entrance. The crowd parts like the Red Sea as I walk down the center aisle, my hands resting casually in my pockets. Klaus stares at me, his jaw dropping open. He looks like he's just seen a ghost. He actually stops breathing, clutching the podium for physical support. Ding. The system chimes rapidly in my head. Transaction registered. $100 billion spent. Triggering level 4 maximum multiplier. Depositing $1 trillion into System Vault. Bonus milestone achieved. Digital master keys to Adler Orbital Satellite Network acquired. State change recognized. I feel the sheer weight of $1 trillion anchoring my financial empire. It's an unfathomable amount of liquid capital. I now personally own Baron Adler's entire life's work. Adler spins around, his face twisting into an ugly mask of rage. "Who the hell are you?" he barks, pointing a fat finger at me. "Do you think this is a joke? 100 billion? Security. Throw this lying trash out of here." The guards lining the walls don't move a single inch. They answer to me now. But Adler isn't relying on the venue's security. Before I can even respond, his phone starts vibrating violently in his pocket. He pulls it out and stares at the screen. His chief engineer is calling. Adler answers it, and whatever he hears makes his eyes bulge out of his skull. His face turns completely white. "What do you mean we're locked out? Who changed the master codes?" Adler screams into the phone, spit flying from his lips. He looks up at me, pure panic washing over his face. He instantly realizes I wasn't just bidding. I was actively buying him out from underneath his own feet. "You!" Adler roars, completely losing his mind. "Kill him! Rip him apart right now." 6 of Adler's personal elite bodyguards step out from the crowd. These aren't standard security rent-a-cops. They are massive, heavily augmented enforcers wearing reinforced combat suits, pulling out collapsing steel batons. The crowd screams and scatters, flipping over tables to get out of the way. I don't even blink. The Neuralink exoskeleton beneath my coat activates instantly, cinching directly with my brainwaves. The kinetic servos whine with raw mechanical power. The lead guard lunges at me, swinging his steel baton straight for my temple with bone-crushing force. I just raise my hand. I don't even brace myself. I catch the steel baton in my bare palm. The impact makes a loud crack, but the exoskeleton absorbs the entire blow effortlessly. The guard's eyes widen in absolute shock. Before he can even process what just happened, I twist my wrist, snapping his arm backward at a horrifying angle. He screams, spitting up a mouthful of blood as he collapses to his knees. The second guard rushes me from the left, reaching for a tactical combat knife. I step into his guard, the servos in my legs firing at maximum output, and grab him by the collar. I lift a 200-pound man off his feet with one arm and launch him halfway across the room. He smashes straight through a thick glass display table with a heavy thud, totally incapacitated. The remaining 4 guards freeze in their tracks. They look at their broken commander, look at the shattered glass, and immediately take several steps back, lowering their weapons in pure terror. They know they are completely outmatched. The entire auction floor goes dead silent. The wealthy elites are trembling, hiding behind chairs. Up on the stage, Klaus doesn't hesitate for a single second. Witnessing the absolute physical disparity, he grabs the prototype quantum core off the pedestal, hugs it tightly to his chest, and makes a mad dash for the rear exit corridor. He runs like a terrified rat abandoning a sinking ship. I just smirk. He actually thinks he can escape a bunker I currently own. I pull up the Vanguard security interface on my phone and trigger the automated lockdown protocols. Warning sirens instantly blare throughout the facility. Flashing red lights paint the walls. Just as Klaus reaches the middle of the rear corridor, a massive foot-thick steel bulkhead drops from the ceiling with a deafening slam, completely blocking his path. He yelps, spinning around to run back, but a second steel bulkhead slams down right behind him. He is totally trapped inside a 10-foot steel box. I casually walk up the stage steps, ignore the terrified auctioneer, and approach the heavy reinforced glass separating me from the corridor. Klaus is pounding his fists against the glass, hyperventilating, tears streaming down his face. "Let me out. Please, Arthur, I'll give you anything," he begs, his voice muffled by the thick barrier. I tap a command on my phone, opening a small pneumatic transfer slot at the bottom of the glass. "Hand it over, Klaus," I say coldly through the intercom. He looks at the slot, looks at the core, and realizes he has absolutely no leverage left. Sobbing, he slides the prototype quantum core through the slot. I pick it up. It's surprisingly heavy, humming with raw data processing power. I pop open a concealed port on the wrist of my exoskeleton and directly plug the core's interface cable into my suit. The system registers the hardware instantly. A surge of pure energy rushes through the kinetic mesh. My HUD lights up with new data streams, confirming my processing speed just increased by 400%. I can now hack entire corporate mainframes in the blink of an eye. I look back at Klaus through the glass. He's sliding down the wall, utterly defeated. But I'm not done with him. I pull up my banking app and locate his personal, heavily frozen offshore account. I select his remaining hidden technological patents, the absolute last pieces of intellectual property he has to his name. The total market value is easily in the billions. I type in a custom purchase offer of exactly $1. With his accounts locked by my earlier cyber attacks, the system overrides his manual consent and forces the liquidation to cover his imaginary debt. Ding, transaction registered. $1 spent, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $10 into host account. Klaus Richter stripped of all remaining assets. State change recognized. I watch Klaus's phone light up in his hand inside the glass box. He reads the notification. He realizes I just bought his entire life's work for a single dollar. He drops the phone, puts his head in his hands, and begins to wail. He is completely, permanently ruined. I turn my back on him and walk down the stage steps toward Baron Adler, who is still standing frozen in the middle of the ruined auction floor. He's sweating profusely, his arrogant demeanor completely shattered. You don't know what you've just done," Adler stammers, taking a step back as I approach. "You think you can just buy the world? The global shadow syndicate isn't going to tolerate this kind of market disruption. You just put a massive target on your own back. They control the real power in this world, and they will hunt you down." I let out a cold laugh. Let them try. They're just the next company on my shopping list. I snap my fingers, signaling my newly acquired Vanguard security guards. Detain the Baron, strip him of his comms and lock him in a holding cell, and leave Klaus in that corridor until he forgets his own name. The guards immediately swarm Adler, dragging him away as he shouts empty threats. I don't even listen. I pull out my phone and tap into my newly upgraded exoskeleton processing unit. I upload the master keys to Adler's orbital satellite network and initiate a global planetary scan. The data streams across my screen in a blur of green numbers, utilizing the 400% speed boost to crack military-grade encryptions in seconds. I'm not waiting for the syndicate to come to me. I'm gonna rip them out by the roots. The progress bar hits 100%, locking onto a massive, undocumented energy signature hidden deep within an uncharted mountain range. The coordinates for the Global Shadow Syndicate's hidden fortress flash onto my screen. I smile. The coordinates lock in. The exoskeleton processes the satellite data in a fraction of a second, cross-referencing global shipping lanes and hidden geographical anomalies. It's a sovereign artificial island located right in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. The Global Shadow Syndicate actually thought they could hide their main fortress in international waters by burying it under a fake maritime registry. They really think they're completely untouchable. I don't waste another second standing around in Zurich. I leave Klaus rotting in his 10-foot steel box and head straight for the surface. My newly acquired Vanguard mercenaries have already prepped a high-speed transport chopper on the bank's roof, standing at attention as I walk past them. I get right into the pilot seat, plug my neural link cable directly into the chopper's flight controls, and blast off into the night sky toward the Mediterranean. The flight takes a few hours, but I spend the entire time running background checks on the syndicate's financial ledgers using my 400% processing boost. They're a massive black market operation. They control illegal tech, weapons, and corporate assassinations all over the globe. They've been manipulating world governments for decades from the shadows. But compared to a level 4 infinite cashback system, they're just a noisy corner store. I check my vault balance. $1 trillion of pure liquid capital sitting there, ready to be weaponized. The artificial island comes into view on my HUD right as the sun starts to rise. It's a massive concrete slab jutting out of the ocean, bristling with heavy automated defense turrets, radar dishes, and reinforced concrete bunkers. I don't even bother trying to mask my approach or radio for clearance. I push the throttle forward and fly straight toward the central airstrip. The moment I cross their designated airspace boundary, a massive surge of blue energy erupts from a central tower on the island, an EMP grid. My chopper's digital control panels instantly go dark. The rotors lock up completely. The engine dies with a pathetic sputtering sound. I'm 3,000 feet in the air and dropping like a rock toward the ocean. I don't panic. The Neuralink exoskeleton under my coat runs on an isolated quantum battery that I fabricated on my own island. It's completely immune to standard electromagnetic pulses. I route maximum power from the suit's core to my kinetic leg servos and kick the chopper door clean off its hinges. The heavy metal door spins away into the clouds. The wind howls in my ears as I step out of the falling chopper into the open air and freefall directly toward the island's runway. I don't even have a parachute. I let gravity do all the work, calculating the exact trajectory with my upgraded brain. At exactly 50 feet above the concrete, I trigger the exoskeleton's kinetic dampeners. The suit hums loudly as it violently reverses my downward momentum. I slam feet first onto the reinforced concrete airstrip with a massive, heavy thud, cracking the pavement beneath my boots and sending a cloud of dust into the air. I stand up slowly, completely uninjured, and casually brush a bit of dust off my shoulder. The entire airstrip is already surrounded. 500 syndicate operatives are standing in perfect formation, aiming heavy electronic firearms right at my head. They're all wearing matte black combat armor and looking at me like I'm a dead man walking. The crowd of mercenaries shifts slightly, keeping their rifles raised. Up on a massive raised command balcony overlooking the strip stands Grandmaster Silas. He's an older, imposing man with a heavily scarred face, wearing a pristine white suit that screams corrupt, untraceable money. And standing right next to him, gripping the balcony railing with white knuckles, is Elias Thorne, the rich kid I humiliated at the street race back in the city. He actually ran all the way across the world to hide behind the syndicate after I took his tech license. Elias points a shaking finger down at me, his face twisting into an ugly sneer. That's him, Silas. That's the guy who stole my assets and ruined the Thorne family. Kill him right now before he pulls some weird trick. He's a monster. Silas just laughs, a cold, arrogant sound that echoes out over the island's external loudspeakers. Settle down, Elias. He's just one man. Silas leans over the balcony, looking down at me with total contempt in his eyes. Arthur, isn't it? I admit the freefall was a nice little party trick, but your little crusade ends right here on my island. I know all about your system interface. I've been watching you buy up companies and disrupt my global market all week. You really thought you could take down the global shadow syndicate with sheer capital. This is a sovereign military state. Money doesn't mean a single thing when I put a high-caliber bullet directly in your brain. Silas smirks, waving a hand at his 500 armed men. I'll give you exactly one chance to walk out of here alive. Transfer master access of your system interface over to my network right now, and I'll let you keep your life. Refuse, and my men will execute you where you stand. The operatives all raise their weapons higher, clicking off the safeties in perfect unison. A few of them are actually chuckling out loud. They think I'm completely cornered. They think I have absolutely nowhere to run. I just look up at Silas and let out a cold laugh. A sovereign military state? Silas, you're squatting on a piece of floating concrete. I slide my phone out of my pocket. The imp didn't even scratch the screen. I open my level 4 infinite cashback system and pull up the global maritime registry. I use my asset appraisal skill on the entire artificial island. The digital deed pops up on my screen, showing the exact coordinates and legal sovereignty rights valued at roughly $400 billion. I don't even blink. I type a massive $500 billion purchase offer directly into the International Maritime Database using the massive $1 trillion vault I secured from Baron Adler. I execute the hostile buyout of the island's sovereign land rights right in front of them. Ding. The system chimes in my ear. Transaction registered. $500 billion spent, triggering tenfold multiplier, depositing $5 trillion into system vault. Master access to artificial island infrastructure transferred to host. State change recognized. The sheer weight of a $5 trillion balance hits my account. I am now officially a multi-trillionaire. My liquid wealth just surpassed the GDP of entire continents. I own the concrete these mercenaries are standing on. I own the airspace above it. I own the emp grid that shot my chopper down. I look back up at the balcony, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. You have a really bad habit of standing on my property without paying rent. I tap a single button on my interface, bypassing Silas's security and accessing the island's central mainframe. I target the localized emp grid and completely reverse its polarity, directing the blast inward to target all unregistered hardware on the airstrip. A silent, invisible wave of energy ripples across the entire concrete landing zone. Instantly, every single electronic firearm held by the 500 operatives sparks violently and dies. Their tactical comms short out with a loud pop. Their laser sights vanish. The operatives stare down at their dead weapons, their eyes widening in absolute shock. They pull the triggers, but nothing happens. They're just holding useless pieces of heavy metal. Complete panic ripples through the crowd. What's happening? My gun is totally dead. One of the mercenaries yells, frantically slapping his rifle. Another drops his weapon, his face draining of all color as he takes a step back. The whole grid just flipped. The master code's changed. He controls the entire base. The 500 armed men instantly turn into a disorganized, terrified mob. Up on the balcony, Silas's smug smile completely vanishes. He realizes in a fraction of a second that his entire army was just neutralized by a guy looking at a cell phone. His eyes flash with desperate, unrestrained rage. Useless trash. Silas roars at his men, spit flying from his lips. I'll kill him myself. He sprints toward the back of the balcony and jumps into a massive prototype combat mech parked by the command bunker doors. The mech stands 15 feet tall, heavily armored with thick steel plating and equipped with a massive hydraulic pincer arm. Silas powers it up, the engine roaring like a jet turbine, and leaps straight over the balcony railing. The massive machine crashes onto the airstrip, cracking the concrete even further, and charges directly at me at terrifying speed. Silas screams over the mech's external speakers, his voice distorted by the radio. I'll crush you into bloody paste. I don't even take a single step back. I engage my upgraded Neuralink exoskeleton to maximum output. The quantum core I integrated earlier floods my system with raw, unfiltered power. The kinetic servos whine loudly. Silas swings the massive hydraulic pincer arm right at my torso, fully expecting to rip me in half. I step right into the strike, raise both of my hands, and catch the massive metal claw barehanded. The impact sends a visible shockwave through the air, blowing the dust off the runway in a massive ring, but I don't budge a single inch. My boots stay firmly planted on the concrete. Silas gasps audibly inside his cockpit. He pushes the throttle to absolute maximum, the mech's engine screaming and smoking, but he can't move my arms at all. How is this even possible? Silas stammers, genuine fear bleeding into his voice. I smirk. Your hardware is severely outdated. I dig my fingers deep into the steel plating, apply massive structural torsion, and violently twist my entire body. With a deafening screech of tearing metal, I snap the entire hydraulic arm clean off the mech's chassis. Sparks shower everywhere. Silas shrieks in panic as his balance shifts and the mech stumbles forward. Before he can even try to reverse away from me, I swing the severed 15-foot mechanical arm like a baseball bat and smash it directly into the mech's exposed core battery on the chest plate. The thick steel armor crumples like cheap tinfoil. The battery ruptures in a massive explosion of electrical fire and smoke. The sheer force of the blast violently ejects Silas from the cockpit. He flies through the air and slams onto the concrete runway, tumbling end over end until he stops right at my feet. He spits up a mouthful of blood, groaning in total agony, his pristine white suit ruined and scorched. The remaining operatives are completely paralyzed by fear. They just watch their Grandmaster get swatted like a fly while piloting a multi-million-dollar combat mech. Not a single one of them dares to step forward. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Elias Thorne making a desperate run for it. He's sprinting down the edge of the airstrip, trying to reach the private docks to steal a boat and escape the island. I open my interface, target the island's automated defense turrets lining the perimeter, and select the purchase option. They're technically syndicate property, but I override the local registry with my land deed. I spend a measly $1 million to buy the entire defense grid outright. Ding. Transaction registered. $1 million spent, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $10 million into host account. Automated turrets acquired. I instantly command the heavy turrets to swivel toward the docks. A massive barrage of heavy suppressive fire rips into the concrete just inches in front of Elias's feet. The high-caliber bullets chew up the ground, forming a perfect, inescapable ring of fire around him. Elias screams, throwing his hands over his head, and collapses to his knees. He's totally trapped, sobbing uncontrollably. I look down at Silas. He's struggling to push himself up on one elbow, his body shaking. The arrogant Grandmaster is completely broken. He looks up at me, his eyes wide with sheer, unfiltered terror. Wait! Arthur, please wait. Silas begs, coughing up more blood onto the concrete. You don't understand the market. If I die, the entire global shadow economy collapses overnight. I have hidden assets, offshore accounts, entire shell corporations that aren't on any grid. Let me live and I'll give it all to you. I'll work for you. I just stare at him with cold disdain. I don't need your permission to take your money. I pull up my interface and initiate a hostile takeover of the syndicate's entire remaining financial network. I use the 400% processing boost from my quantum core to bypass every single hidden firewall Silas spent decades building. I target his entire net worth, every shell company, every hidden stash of gold bars, every piece of political blackmail he owns. I enter a custom purchase price of $1 single. Silas watches my screen, his face turning completely pale. He realizes I'm not negotiating at all. I'm taking everything. Ding. Transaction registered. $1 spent, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $10 into host account. Hostile takeover of Global Shadow Syndicate complete. Target Silas stripped of all global influence and assets. State change recognized. Silas slumps against the concrete, utterly ruined. He doesn't even have the energy to scream. He's just a broken old man sitting on a runway he no longer owns, completely stripped of his empire. Suddenly, the system interface flashes a blinding gold color in my vision. Ding! Milestone achieved. Global Shadow Syndicate completely dismantled. Upgrading infinite cashback system to level 5. Planetary market module unlocked. Daily transaction limits entirely removed. Issuing physical reward. A heavy metal keycard drops directly into my coat pocket. I pull it out and check the system appraisal. It's the physical title and master access card to a fully operational orbital command station hovering right above the Earth's atmosphere. I've completely outgrown the terrestrial market. I turn my back on Silas and look at the terrified, disarmed operatives standing around the airstrip. Detain Silas and Elias, I command, my voice carrying total authority. Throw them in the deepest holding cells you have. You all work for me now. The operatives immediately rush forward to grab the two broken men, eager to prove their new loyalty and avoid getting crushed. I don't stick around to watch them grovel. I walk toward the edge of the airstrip, the ocean wind blowing against my coat. I direct my exoskeleton's communication array to bypass standard global satellites and patch directly into the highest encrypted channel on the planet. I dial the World Financial Council to initiate my final market consolidation. I don't even wait for the dial tone to finish ringing. I route the transmission directly through my newly acquired orbital command station hovering right above the stratosphere. The massive processing power of the Level 5 planetary market module instantly breaches the World Financial Council's absolute encryption. A holographic projection interface snaps to life right in front of my face, projecting my image straight into the center of their highly classified summit in Geneva. I can see the entire circular boardroom. 50 of the wealthiest, most corrupt men on the planet are sitting around a massive marble table, staring at my glowing blue hologram like they just saw a ghost. Sitting right at the head of the table is Chairman Vandal. He's a bloated, arrogant man wearing a custom suit that costs more than most small countries make in a decade. He slams his fist on the marble. Cut that feed right now. He barks at his technicians. The technicians are frantically typing on their keyboards, sweat pouring down their faces, but it's completely useless. Sir, we can't. He's bypassed the primary firewalls. He's routing his signal through an unregistered orbital platform. Vandal's face turns an ugly shade of red. He glares directly into the holographic camera lens, his eyes narrowing with pure contempt. Arthur, Vandal sneers, spitting my name like it's a curse word. You really think you can just barge into a Level 1 planetary summit? I don't care if you stole Silas's little island. You're nothing but a market anomaly, a glitch in our system. We are the World Financial Council. We dictate the global economy. You are just a stray dog playing with money you don't understand. He doesn't even give me a second to respond. Vandal turns to the 50 executives sitting around him. I'm initiating an emergency executive vote. Effective immediately, we're placing a total global trade embargo on this artificial island. We'll freeze every shipping lane, block every airspace, and starve him out until he's begging us for a loaf of bread. All in favor. Every single executive in the room raises their hand without a second of hesitation. They're all smiling smugly, thinking they just signed my death warrant. It's done, Vandal says, looking back at my hologram with a sickeningly arrogant grin. Your little empire is dead. Welcome to the real world, boy. I just stand there on the runway, the ocean wind blowing against my coat, and I let out a cold laugh. The real world? I ask, my voice echoing through their Geneva boardroom. Vandal, you don't even own the chair you're sitting on. I don't waste any more time talking to a dead man. I open my Level 5 planetary market module on my interface. The screen glows with a brilliant gold light displaying the entire global debt structure in real time. I locate the World Financial Council's sovereign debt bonds. These guys have been leveraging entire nations for decades, borrowing against the future of the planet to fund their private armies and orbital weapons. They owe a staggering $10 trillion in raw debt. I don't even blink. I have $5 trillion sitting in my vault from the island buyout, plus the trillion I took from Adler. But with the Level 5 upgrade, my daily transaction limits are entirely removed, and I can leverage the orbital station's massive value. I tap the purchase button. I spend $10 trillion of pure liquid capital to buy up every single cent of the World Financial Council's sovereign debt. Ding. The system chimes in my ear, the sound sweeter than anything I've ever heard. Transaction registered. $10 trillion spent, triggering tenfold multiplier. Depositing $100 trillion into host account. Hostile takeover of council sovereign debt complete. Executive veto power transferred to host. State change recognized. The sheer weight of a $100 trillion balance hits my account. The number is so massive, it almost breaks the display screen. I don't just have money anymore. I own the global economy. I own the concept of debt itself. I use my newly acquired executive veto power and project my digital ownership documents directly onto the massive central monitors in the Geneva Summit Room. The giant screens flash red, then switch to display my name as the sole majority debt holder of the entire council. Vandal's smug grin freezes instantly. His eyes go wide, practically bulging out of his skull. The executives around the table start panicking. What is this? My terminal just locked me out, one of them yells. He bought the debt. He bought all of it. We're completely insolvent. Another screams, his face draining of all color. Vandal shakes his head in absolute denial. Impossible. Nobody has $10 trillion in liquid cash. It's a trick. It's a cheap digital trick. I smirk, staring right into his panicked eyes. I'm officially vetoing your little embargo, Vandal. In fact, I'm vetoing your entire existence. You're fired. But Vandal is a cornered rat, and cornered rats always bite. His face twists into a mask of pure lethal intent. You think you've won because of some digital ledger. Vandal roars, spittle flying from his mouth. I still control the physical assets. I still control the guns. He reaches under the marble table and punches a hidden biometric keypad. An automated voice echoes through the summit chamber. Orbital kinetic weapons platform activated. Targeting coordinates locked. Artificial island. I'm gonna wipe you and your little island off the face of the earth. Vandal screams, completely losing his mind. He just authorized a localized orbital strike. A massive tungsten rod dropping from space that will hit with the force of a tactical nuke. The countdown clock appears on their monitors. 30 seconds to impact. I don't panic. I don't even flinch. I just tap my Neuralink exoskeleton and access the digital master keys I stole from Baron Adler back in Zurich. Adler's orbital satellite network is fully integrated with my quantum core. I bypass Vandal's targeting systems in less than 3 seconds. The 400% processing boost from my suit tears through the Council's military firewalls like wet tissue paper. I grab the targeting reticule on my HUD and drag it away from my island. I look up Vandal's personal registry. He has a massive multi-billion-dollar private estate right on the Mediterranean coast, complete with a docked fleet of luxury yachts and private battleships. I drop the targeting coordinates right on top of his fleet, rerouting kinetic payload the system prompts. I confirm the command. Up in orbit, the massive weapons platform shifts its angle. 10 seconds later, a blinding streak of light tears through the atmosphere. It completely misses my island. Instead, I watch the satellite feed on my interface as the tungsten rod slams directly into the ocean just off the coast of Vandal's estate. The impact generates a massive localized tidal wave. Millions of tons of water rise up and savagely crash down onto his private harbor. His entire docked fleet is instantly crushed into scrap metal. Yachts are flipped upside down, battleships are shoved onto the shore, and his billion-dollar estate is completely flooded. State change recognized. Vandal's fleet destroyed. I project the live satellite footage of his ruined estate right onto the boardroom monitors. Vandal stares at the screens, his mouth hanging wide open. He gasps, sucking in a breath of cold air, clutching his chest like he's about to have a heart attack. My ships. My estate. You're a monster, Vandal stammers, his legs giving out as he slumps back into his chair. I cut the holographic feed. I'll see you in 2 hours, Vandal. Don't go anywhere. I immediately board my high-speed transport jet parked on the runway. The Vanguard mercenaries secure the perimeter as the engines roar to life. The flight to Geneva is a quick 2-hour burn across the continent. I spend the entire time reviewing my $100 trillion balance and letting the Neuralink feed me data on the World Bank's hidden architecture. The moment the jet touches down on the private airstrip outside the Council's headquarters, I walk straight out of the cabin. I don't bring any backup. I don't need it. I walk right up to the front entrance of the massive glass and steel summit building. A heavy line of 50 elite Council security guards is blocking the main doors. They're heavily armed, wearing tactical riot gear, and they all raise their assault rifles the second they see me approach. Halt! You're trespassing on Council grounds. The lead guard barks, aiming his laser sight right at my chest. I don't stop walking. I don't even slow down. I just open my level 5 interface and activate my asset appraisal skill. The numerical monetary debt and loyalty price hovers over each of their heads. They're just hired guns. They don't care about Vandal. I select all 50 guards in my system and wire exactly $10 million into every single one of their personal offshore bank accounts simultaneously. Ding. Transaction registered. $500 million spent, triggering tenfold multiplier, depositing $5 billion into host account. The guards' tactical earpieces chime at the exact same time. They all look down at their wrist monitors. Their eyes widen in absolute shock. The lead guard's jaw practically hits the floor. 10 million, he whispers, his hands shaking. He looks up at me, then looks back at the building. Without another word, he lowers his assault rifle and steps to the side. I'm retiring right now, one guard stammers, ripping his council badge off his chest and throwing it on the ground. I don't get paid enough to die for Vandal, another mutters. Every single guard in the line follows suit, lowering their weapons and parting to let me through. Welcome to the council, sir, the lead guard says, bowing his head respectfully. I don't even acknowledge him. I just walk right past them, pushing open the heavy double doors and stepping into the main lobby. I take the private executive elevator straight to the top floor. The doors slide open and I walk directly into the main summit chamber. The room is in absolute chaos. The 50 executives are shouting at each other, trying to salvage their ruined portfolios. Vandal is still sitting at the head of the massive marble table, looking like a cornered animal. The moment I step into the room, total silence falls over the crowd. Every single pair of eyes locks onto me. I walk right up to the central podium, my boots clicking loudly on the polished floor. Vandal snaps out of his shock and his face contorts with desperate rage. What are you idiots doing? Vandal screams at his remaining executive loyalists sitting near him. He's just one man. Grab him. Throw him out the window. 5 heavily built executives, guys who clearly spent their free time doing combat training instead of balancing ledgers, jump out of their seats and rush me. They actually think they can take me down with brute force. I let out a cold laugh. I activate the kinetic servos in my Neuralink exoskeleton. The suit whines with raw power. I don't even bother throwing a punch. I just step forward, grab the edge of the massive solid marble meeting table, and savagely heave it upward. The servos scream as I flip the entire table right over. The massive slab of marble crashes down on top of the 5 charging executives with deafening thud. They don't even have time to scream. They're instantly pinned to the floor under tons of stone, groaning in agony, completely incapacitated. The rest of the executives in the room scramble backward, terrified out of their minds. I step right over the debris and walk straight up to Vandal. He tries to stand up and run, but I grab him by the collar of his custom suit and brutally force him to his knees on the hard floor. He spits up a mouthful of blood as his knees crack against the tile. Please. Vandal begs, his arrogant facade completely shattered. I have offshore gold. I have political favors. Just name your price. I look down at him with pure disgust. I already own everything you have. I access my interface, target Vandal's personal accounts, and type in a custom purchase price to initiate a hostile asset seizure of his remaining private estates. I transfer exactly $1 single to his frozen account. Ding. Transaction registered. $1 spent, triggering 10-fold multiplier, depositing $10 into host account. Hostile asset seizure complete. Target Vandal stripped of all remaining global estates. State change recognized. Vandal lets out a pathetic sob as his phone buzzes, notifying him that he now owns absolutely 0 assets on planet Earth. I reach down and rip the chairman insignia ring right off his finger. He doesn't even try to resist. He just slumps against the broken marble, totally ruined. Ding. The system flashes a blinding platinum light in my vision. Planetary Global Financial Nexus captured. Rewarding host with title, Planetary Administrator. Downloading coordinates to World Bank's hidden subterranean gold vault into Neuralink. State change recognized. A massive surge of data floods directly into my brain. I see the exact schematics, the biometric locks, and the location of the core wealth of the entire planet sitting miles beneath the surface. I slip the chairman ring onto my finger. Every single remaining council member in the room drops to their knees in absolute submission, shivering in fear. I don't even look at them. I turn toward the private executive elevator, ready to make my descent into the World Bank vault and claim the planet's core wealth. I step into the private executive elevator and press the heavy gold chairman insignia ring right against the biometric scanner panel on the wall. The heavy steel doors slide shut, sealing me inside a reinforced titanium box, and the elevator immediately begins a rapid, stomach-dropping descent. I don't even look at the floor indicator because I already know we are dropping miles below the surface of Geneva, plunging straight into the bedrock where the World Bank keeps the true financial heartbeat of the planet. My Neuralink exoskeleton feeds me a constant stream of encrypted data, projecting the blueprints of the subterranean facility directly across my retinas. The World Financial Council thought they were untouchable because they hoarded the physical backing of the entire global economy down here, hiding behind blast doors that could survive a direct nuclear strike. But they forgot one simple rule of the new world. I own the key. The elevator finally grinds to a halt with a heavy metallic clank. The doors slide open, and I step out into the central terminal room of the global vault. It's a massive, sterile space built out of solid reinforced concrete, lined with rows of blinking supercomputers and a set of biometric blast doors at the far end that secure the actual physical gold reserves. There are no guards down here. The council was too arrogant to think anyone could ever breach the surface headquarters, let alone make it down to the core. I walk straight up to the main terminal console to manually transfer the gold registry to my name, but the moment I step within 5 feet of the screens, the entire room flashes with a blinding red emergency light. A massive holographic projection snaps to life right in the center of the room. It's Vandal. Not the broken, weeping Vandal I just left upstairs, but a pre-recorded digital backup of the chairman, sitting in a leather chair with that same sickeningly smug grin on his face. He planned this. He knew that if the surface was ever compromised, he needed a dead man's switch. Well, the holographic Vandal sneers, his recorded voice echoing loudly off the concrete walls. If you're seeing this message, it means my physical security failed, and someone actually managed to steal my ring, but you didn't win. You just walked into your own grave. Did you really think I'd let some upstart take control of the World Bank? A massive digital countdown clock appears in the air right above Vandal's head. 60 seconds. You see, Arthur, I know your game. Vandal's hologram continues, practically spitting with arrogant confidence. You manipulate digital ledgers. You buy up debt using phantom money. But digital money is just ones and zeros sitting on a server. It isn't real. So I initiated the Genesis protocol. In exactly 60 seconds, this terminal will broadcast a global kill code to every central bank on Earth. It will permanently delete all fiat currency networks. Every digital dollar, every stock portfolio, every line of credit will be wiped clean. The global economy will instantly revert to a strict physical gold standard. And since this vault is completely locked down from the inside, whoever holds the physical gold down here will be the only sovereign wealth holder left on the planet. Your 100 trillion digital dollars are about to be worth absolutely nothing. Welcome back to the Stone Age, boy. The hologram fades out, leaving only the massive red countdown clock ticking away in the center of the room. 50 seconds. I just stand there in the middle of the flashing red room and let out a cold laugh. Vandal actually thought he was a genius. He thought he could zero out my entire net worth by destroying the concept of digital money itself. It's honestly a smart move for a cornered rat, but he has absolutely no idea what he's dealing with. He underestimated the infinite cashback system. He thinks I'm just a hacker with a big bank account. He doesn't realize my capital defies the laws of reality. I don't panic. I don't rush. With 40 seconds left on the clock, I calmly reach up and connect my Neuralink exoskeleton's physical communication cable directly into the World Bank's central mainframe port. The suit winds with power, integrating my brain with the vault's core processing network. I open my interface, bringing up the level 5 planetary market module right in my field of vision. The screen glows with a brilliant gold light. I bypass Vandal's lockdown protocols in a fraction of a second, navigating straight to the World Bank's physical asset registry. There it is. The complete legal ownership deed for Earth's entire physical gold reserve, along with the rights to all raw resource pools tied to the central bank. The automated system valuation lists the purchase price at exactly $100 trillion. Every single cent I currently have in my digital vault. 30 seconds left. If the clock hits 0 before I make the purchase, my digital funds will be wiped and I won't be able to buy the gold. Vandal would win from beyond his own financial grave. A cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. I don't even hesitate. I select physical reserves and slam the purchase button on my interface, dumping my entire digital balance of $100 trillion into the World Bank's registry to legally buy the gold. Ding. The system chimes in my ear, the sound louder and more powerful than it has ever been. Transaction registered. $100 trillion spent, triggering final apex multiplier, bypassing standard monetary returns, depositing absolute physical deeds into host inventory. State change recognized. The digital deed for Earth's entire physical resource pool transfers directly into my interface. I don't just own the money anymore. I own the metal. I own the land. I own the raw, physical backing of the entire planet. 5 seconds left. I cross my arms and watch the giant red timer tick down to 0. The moment the clock hits 0, the room goes completely silent. The red emergency lights shut off. A low, bass-heavy hum shakes the concrete floor as the Genesis protocol executes. The global wipe is instantaneous. Up on the surface, every single digital bank account, every corporate ledger, and every stock market tracker instantly rolls over to 0. The old economy is completely and permanently obliterated. The system feeds me the live audio from the summit room upstairs. The 50 executives are screaming in pure, unadulterated terror. My accounts. They're empty. Everything is gone. One of them shrieks. Vandal's final hidden offshore accounts, the secret funds he thought he could rely on after the wipe, are erased forever. He is left with nothing, not even a single physical coin to his name. Vandal's total financial erasure is absolute. He thought he was blowing up my ship, but he just sank his own fleet while I was already standing on the shore. I don't waste any time gloating over dead men. Now that I hold the absolute physical backing of the planet, I use my quantum server network to establish a brand new global currency, completely integrated with my infinite cashback system. I am the central bank now. I type a command into my interface, programming my AI cyber warfare module to automatically liquidate every single piece of remaining real estate owned by the World Financial Council. Their mansions, their private islands, their luxury bunkers, all of it is instantly seized, converted into the new system currency, and directly distributed to the global population. I watch the data streams flow across my HUD as billions of regular people receive massive, life-changing deposits into their newly generated system accounts. I just permanently dismantled the old corporate monopolies in a single keystroke. The age of the council is over. I disconnect my exoskeleton from the mainframe and turn my back on the terminal. I don't even need to physically look at the gold. I already own it. I walk back into the elevator and ride it up to the surface. When the doors open in the main lobby, the 50 elite PMC guards I bought earlier are standing at perfect attention. Lock down the subterranean access, I order the lead guard. Nobody goes down there without my direct authorization. The guard bows deeply. Understood, administrator. I walk right out the front doors of the ruined summit building, stepping into the cool night air. My high-speed transport jet is waiting on the runway. I board the aircraft and order the pilots to take me home. The flight back to my city is quiet. I sit in the luxury cabin, sipping a glass of water, watching the global markets stabilize under my new system protocols. When the jet finally lands on the roof of the Zenith Tower, I step out and take the private elevator down to my top floor penthouse. The automated lights flick on as I walk into the massive, empty living room. I walk straight over to the central monitor bank I set up against the glass wall and access the planetary surveillance grid. I type in 2 specific names: Vance and Sarah. The screen flickers and pulls up a live feed from an industrial sector on the outskirts of the city. A cold laugh escapes my throat. The economic reset completely dissolved Horizon Tech and erased Vance's corporate identity. Without his stolen money and his fake prestige, he is absolutely nothing. The camera zooms in. Vance is wearing a stained, cheap work uniform, sweating heavily as he manually shovels coal into a massive industrial furnace. He looks exhausted, his face covered in soot, his eyes hollow and dead, and right beside him is Sarah. She is wearing heavy work gloves, dragging heavy scrap metal across the dirty concrete floor. She looks miserable, her expensive makeup gone, her designer clothes replaced by cheap rags. She threw me away for a corporate director because she wanted an easy life of luxury. She mocked my income and abandoned me when I was at my lowest. Now she is permanently chained to a bankrupt loser doing manual labor just to afford a daily ration of food. Their permanent irrelevance is the ultimate punchline to the joke they tried to play on me. I close the surveillance feed. I don't care about them anymore. They are ants crawling in the dirt of a world I built. Suddenly, my vision flashes with a brilliant, blinding gold light. The infinite cashback system interface pops up one final time, the text glowing with an intensity I've never seen before. Ding, terminal notification. Infinite cashback interface has reached maximum capacity. Hostile takeovers complete. Global assets secured. Framework is now permanently merging with the global financial grid, granting host passive oversight of all planetary transactions. System integration absolute. Floating interface slowly dissolves into my peripheral vision, fading away into a permanent, subtle awareness in the back of my mind. I don't need to swipe a card anymore. I don't need to press a button to trigger a multiplier. I am the multiplier. I am the system. I walk over to the massive glass balcony doors and push them open. The cold city wind whips against my coat as I step out onto the edge of the Zenith Tower penthouse. I stand there, looking down at the brilliantly illuminated financial district stretching out for miles beneath me. The skyscrapers, the banks, the sprawling corporate campuses. None of it belongs to the old elite anymore. Every single transaction, every dollar spent, every deal made down there flows directly through my network. I review the consolidated market data streaming passively through my mind, confirming my absolute control. They fired me. They evicted me. They tried to tell me I was nothing. I look out over the glowing city, a cold, unyielding smirk permanently etched onto my face. I am the architect of the new world economy, and I own it all.